But no, Beth York goes crashing down. Determination, the suffering, the ability to... And she's unleashed everything in this attack. See just how much that win means to him. All the marvels. Kayla versus Allison and to the line. Kayla Laguna takes the victory. Hello everybody and welcome to another awesome stream right here on the CVR World Cup Mixer page. As always, my name is Jesper Anchor, and for the next 2 hours I'll be guiding you through all the CVRcade World Cup action as it unfolds live right here on Mixer. So we're now entering week 3 of the $25,000 overall prize per CVRcade World Cup taking place on the physical esports platform CVRcade. Throughout the last 2 weeks, we've seen stories, we've seen plays, we've seen mistakes, we've seen blood, sweat, and tears right here through the different streams of different riders. And tonight, adding into the fold of people streaming into the broadcast, we're adding 2 new faces. And I can't wait to see what they've got to add as we head on to Dark Matter Tech for the first race this evening. Then we've got Tempo Run lined up next, and we finish off with the Technical Country Rally that is most people's favorite course. And then fantastic Alien C2 laps. It's gonna be good. It's close at the top of the rankings right now in the CVRcade World Cup. And as we get closer to the bracketed session, you gotta gather as many points as possible to make sure you move on up and you're guaranteed that qualification to the next step in the CVRcade World Cup. But let's go and chat to one of the racers today. We've got Ryan Goldenberg of Velocity Vixen in there. Ryan, it's good to have you back into the racing. Velocity Vixen is becoming more and more of a stable team. You're doing very well. What is the game plan for Velocity Vixen tonight?
Yeah, I'm sorry I don't have my kit on today. I've got the CVR just so I can get those points, but yeah, I think I got to do some laundry. But yeah, it looks like it's only Jeff and I today, at least in this zone. So we'll do what we can. I mean, with 2, there's obviously the strategies are more limited. But he's been racing well. It's been a few days since I've gone, but you know, we'll work together as we can.
Well, it's been a few days, means the legs should be fresh. We've seen with the amount of racing that's been ramped up with Saturdays, and now we're doing Zone T's as well as Zone E's on Saturdays. Some legs are a bit tired, but yours are fresh. How do you like your chances of a good performance today?
Yeah, I think the first race will tell me a lot. It'll be interesting with the addition of the power up we have today, but. Yeah, if I can finish well there, then, you know, obviously Tempo Run, which I believe is second up, is a whole different beast. But at least if I can get some confidence in this first race, maybe that'll be a good sign for the longer effort.
We'll see if Ryan gathers the confidence to conquer the beast after this. Best of luck, Ryan. In the broadcast tonight, we've also got Vibeke Bertram for the first time. It'll be awesome to see how she performs on the broadcast. Thomas Tibeling, who went from Cade cadet to Cade competitor. As you can see the little shake of the hand. We've got Jenna Garcia also in the broadcast today. Smile and a hello. Further down we've got Casey Shum, Team Experimental, one of the red hot favorites to perform well today. Further up, Frank Garcia is also taking to the start line with Alison Kubota of Team Cognition. You heard Ryan briefly mention it today. There are an additional power-up here in the no skill event. Comeback kit is on display. It's been a while since we've seen Comeback Kid in action, but today it's making a return. Comeback Kid gives you an additional 367 watts for 45 seconds or until you catch the rider ahead of you. Now, how you use that will be interesting to keep an eye on as we get underway, because you can use it when you're off the back, but since there are bots in this race, you gotta be careful about when you use it, because just off the back here, early after the start, we can see Vibeke just losing contact with Sharon Hackerthorn. Mike Murahand is also down in 15th place, but several riders are finding themselves up near the front here, as Jenna Garcia at 190 equalized heart rate, just at the back of the group here, and she's hanging on. So, with it being a no-skill event, the scoring multiplier for this is 1. That means at the end of this, whoever wins takes 30 points and walks away. I'm trying to find all different riders, but we have 11 riders, 12 riders in this blob, and it's just changing so quickly. So with it being a no-skill event, and everyone is moving right, then left, they're searching for the draft, as Kinjal is attacked 2 seconds up the road. And there is one rider who is in a world of pain, about to get dropped off the back here. Jenna Garcia 2 seconds back, and losing the blob is not something you want to do. As we see Casey Shum, Team Experimental, tonight for the Zone K race. There looks to be no Team Cycling Hub members. No Tim Fulford, no Quinton Molyneux, no Chris Pritchard, no Timothy Tamont, no Gus Baumans, and no Nils Heldens. So that will leave an open spot for somebody else to move on up on that rankings, perhaps do a bit better. Carl Axel Sander. It's good to see him coming back into the action. He's one of the OG beta testers. So Thomas Tibbling just on the back here. He had a breakout performance last week. Now he's back for more. This is one of his preferred zones, so he will gain bonus points. And he's got to be careful because he's getting a draft. But as everyone is moving left and right, you've got to fight to get back into the draft. 1K to go. Last Saturday, we saw Peter Kastrup with a long-range attack on Echelon to win the no-skill event. Then we saw was it Timothy? No, it was Victor Lundqvist who did the same thing over again. Apologies. And then we saw Kayla Laguna do it at the very end. I got my executive producer here giving me a stern face because it was him who went far. So we could see the same thing. And we've only got 700 meters to go with 11 riders in here. They are absolutely flying. And I think everybody's eyes starts to go on Frank Garcia because they know him, Casey, they got this jump down to a perfection. But Frank just ever so slightly going off the back. I think he's going to try and use Comeback Kid here to propel himself right on by as he sprints 500 watts. Kinjal has used her Comeback Kid, but 400 meters to go. And it may not be the case. 200 meters. Thomas on the left. Casey on the left. Important points here as Casey loses the draft. Comeback Kit gets used, but will it be too little, too late? On the front, Ryan Goldenberg is giving it everything, and it'll be Ryan taking the win in front of Rick Woods and Thomas Tippling and Nigel Doyle. That finish was so intricate. Let's have a closer look at the replay because that was so back and forth. I think Frank and Casey both tried to use the Comeback Kit power-up to their best ability, giving them that slingshot effect of going flying around the peloton, but it just seemed to be too little too late here as Casey goes off the back. You can see one hand on the keyboard, activates the power-up, starts sprinting, but everyone ahead of him is already so far up the road as coming into the sprint. Nigel, Ryan, Jeff, Carl, and Thomas as well. And on the finish, Ryan Goldenberg takes the win. So congrats, Ryan. We chatted with you before the race. Does the legs give you confidence coming into the beast of a stage now?
Yeah, I would say a little bit. Maybe more than the legs, just the result and the timing. It was interesting. It didn't seem like people went as early as I expected. But I think like all the turns made the drafting a little bit less than maybe it would have been if we were all in a straight line.
Well,
sorry, I'm just getting over my cold here. But yeah, it worked out well. We'll see if the lungs have it for this one. It'll be more of a sustained effort for sure.
Well, good luck, Ryan. In third place in the last race was newcomers Thomas Tibbling. Congrats, Thomas. Talk me through your experience on Dark Matter Tech. What was that race like with all the lane swapping?
Oh, it was a lot of going back and forth, and I lost the group a couple of times, and then going back in, and then you go straight through it. So it's a lot of practice in getting it right. But then I could feel that the tempo was picking up towards the end, and I just kept watching it. But then it was sort of a mix because you turn the last, or you have to change lanes the last two turns, and just have to keep the right track there. So I did what I could.
Well, that was excellent. Now you're coming into Temple Run. It's 4 laps, Thomas. How do you feel about this length of a race? Because it's quite long at 19 kilometers.
Because I'm quite new to this, I don't know how much tactic or endurance, but I'm sort of like a little bit longer race because it keeps you a little bit, it takes the edge of things and you start to grind. But obviously it will help if you have somebody's ride behind.
It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I believe you're currently without a team, Thomas, for the CVRcade Racing. What would you say to the Velocity Vixens, the Cognitions, the Experimentals? Why should they approach you, Thomas, to get you on their team?
Ooh, that was a surprise question. Well, I'm going to try to be consistent, and hopefully we'll see I have a curve that goes upwards, because I learned all the tricks in this game.
Absolutely love it. Thanks for being on stream, Thomas. Good luck as we take on the beast, as Ryan Goldenberg so aptly named this race we're about to head on. 45 seconds to go. And if this is the first time you're tuning in to CVRcade Racing, this is racing made possible thanks to physical equalization. So today on the broadcast, we have different riders from all across the world, different age groups, different experiences when it comes to cycling, different entry groups when it comes to the value of their equipment, their bikes, their trainers, but it doesn't matter because physical equalization enables everybody across all different, backgrounds to ride, race, train, and just be and play together on CVRcade. So as you watch these riders about to take on 4 laps of Temple Run, have that in mind. Everybody has got a fair chance as they get underway now. Up to the front, Ryan Goldenberg. We do have a different dynamic in this race because something that's recently been adding into the CVRcade World Cup are the bots. And the bots are riding at 367 equalized watts. You can see them off the back there, riding in a pack. They're going to change the racing dynamic substantially. Because no longer can you ride off the front and think, well, further back, the corporation is going to stop. There's no way they're going to work together because these bots, they don't care if you're Team CCC. They don't care if you're Cognition. They have one goal in mind, and that's to get to the finish line before you. As we can now see the pack, it's getting quite large now as the riders move on up. Vibeke from Denmark, she's been getting better and better on the platform here. She sits on the back, and she just enjoys a rest on the draft of Ryan Goldenberg. Kale Laguna as well. It's getting hectic in there. Alexander is on the left. Clarence is in there. As now you can see Kale trying to maneuver through. Remember, it is a low skill event, meaning uncrashable is on at all times. So you cannot take a tumble. You can't park your bike. But you've also got quantum shift. You've got weight lifted and wind at your back. 2 of each for a very long Temple Run race. Who is going to dare to upset the bots? That is going to be the question everyone is going to ask. As we look towards the back, Vibeke just near the back here of the group, and she's coming up now. Kim Fairchild, Team Cognition kid as well. You can see the blue kid. She's fighting to get back on the wheel, and she succeeds in doing so. So this is now turning in to a very technical race. As we see Thomas Tibbling just working away, staying in there, searching for the draft. Because with 4 laps And with the bots riding at such a high pace, if you do break away, because we usually see on races like this, Kayla, Frank, right as the gun goes, they attack. They just hammer the front and they know exactly what to do to break the spirits of those chasing behind. But when the spirit is an AI, it will take a lot to break it, as they cannot tell the difference. As you can see, Casey enjoying the draft of Clarence in front of him, and they'll just be sitting in. Now, eventually somebody will need to make a move, because if you bring down the scoreboard, the scoring multiplier for this is 2. So there are significant points to be gained. Ryan, Rick, Casey, Thomas, they're all moving up and down. And so they're going to have to get points for the Omnium. And with the way the current rule set works, is Ryan is finding himself off the front here. So maybe a bit antsy. Like when you've got good legs, it can be very easy to do too much too early. And you've got to find that sweet spot of trusting that things will occur in the way they do. So when you come into a long race like this, and this has very rarely happened to me, but when you do happen to have good legs, you need to trust that everybody around you is having the same motive, which is stick with a group, draft, get further in, and then execute an attack, as we can see Kayla Laguna as well. Now, with the real life riding dynamics, which in CVRcade is fairly unrivaled, as Frank is at the back slowing down Kayla, so a bit of cross teamwork blocking there. So Kayla getting blocked by her own teammate by accident. Carl Axel Sanders also collateral damage in that exchange. Now, with CVRcade's real-life riding dynamics, Kayla sitting this far back, she'll get a rather large draft, because just like in real life, the more riders that are around you, in front of you, you get more drafting. And I think you're seeing CVR trying to set up a pace line so they're in the same spot. So what I think is happening here, and we're watching it unfold, Team CVR is going to attempt a team attack. So you see Kayla, you see Rick, and you've also got Frank up here. They're trying to get organized, and then when they see an opening, I think they're going to attack either on the left or on the right. And then if they can just stay above 367 as a unit and take turns, they should be able to go right on through. So first lap of Temple Run coming to an end soon, as they've just crested the top and they start the descent. Remember, Uncrashable is an ability that's on at all times, so they don't have to worry about the debris. They don't have to worry about overlapping wheels. They don't have to worry about corner speeds. They just have to worry about their immediate strategies. But as we watch Kayla, as we watch Frank, they've got 2 to 3 synced up so far, with Frank on the back, all 3 together now, and they're in a line. So the reason you do this, it's the same as in real life. When you're watching a sprint stage at the Tour de France, you've got the team getting organized with about 10 kilometers to go, and then they slowly start to move up. I think we're seeing the exact same thing happen here with Rick, with Frank, and with Kayla. And they've succeeded in something very similar before as well on Temple Run, because not too long ago, maybe 2 weeks ago I think it was, they pulled off a massive coup. They attacked from the gun, they took turns, and it was Casey Shum who was just digging in and digging in and digging in to try and claw back that gap that they had sustained early on by their attack. But it just wasn't meant to be. And in the end, I think Frank, Rick, and Kayla ended up spending less energy than Casey did altogether as they attacked away. So well, look, what's going to happen now? Usually when you come to this point, you're worried about getting boxed in on the left, because if you do, you're going to crash into that boulder. But again, with Uncrashable as the ability, you don't have to worry about all that. So we look at the victims. There doesn't seem to be anyone quite yet. I mean, Thomas has to be careful here. He's with Jeff Rooney, he's with Leonardo, but they're down in 18th, 19th, 20th. They're 5 seconds off the back of the chase, of the front group, sorry. So Jeff Rooney, Velocity Vixen, unfortunately not streaming in today, but always awesome. We always know he digs in, he digs deep. I think he told me he was going to suffer in peace today, so that is a nice image. But I think it's clever what Thomas and Jeff are doing, because Leonardo, the rider ahead of them, is just going to stay at 367, and they can get a nice draft. But I don't think he's ever gonna gain. So you can stay here, stay here, stay here, and the gap isn't really gonna get any bigger. It's not gonna get any smaller, but eventually you'll need to make a jump. But for the time being, Thomas and Jeff, they're enjoying a rest at the back. Ryan Goldenberg, our current virtual leader going into this. And that's, of course, changing with Allison moving up, with Kayla, with Vibeke. The first race was only a 1-square multiplier, so you watch it unfold. Now, I'm really fascinated to see this, because I'd love to hear your thoughts as well in the Mixer chat or in the CVRcade Riders Forum, because this is the first time in CVRcade World Cup history that we've added bots on a broadcasted stream. We've had bots sometimes before, but for the first time in a broadcasted zone, we've got bots. And bots are quite awesome because, in my personal opinion at least, they add such an element of strategic knowledge. Because before it comes down to, do you have the numbers? You heard me ask Thomas, which team is he thinking about joining? All that makes such a massive difference because you can see the green and white of Team CVR. They're definitely scheming. They're in the audio widget right now. They're talking back and forth, and they're coming up with strategies in which that they can, you know, optimize their chance of success. Casey knows this, Vibeke knows this, Carl Axel Sander knows this, so they're keeping a close eye and staying around them. But with a bots, like, you can no longer have that, oh, we have 4, you have 1, we're gonna attack, you can't really close it down. But with the bots, they just act as like neutral pacers, and it's making it very interesting and very chaotic and, like, well, not chaotic, it's making it very nervous. Because everybody's looking around, they're just waiting, because if they miss the train, it could be all over. Now, Casey's sitting at 365, equalized heart rate 167. So everyone has got relatively low equalized heart rates, 169, 167. What this is going to... Oh, is this Frank? Frank's slowing it down. I think... Actually, sorry, that may not have been Frank. I think that was Kayla. Sorry. Wrongful accusation there. Kayla at the back, just slowing a few of the bots down. And this is what can happen. If just one rider isn't happy with the bots, what you can do is you can go to the front and then slow them down. So you can see Vibeke just reacting to this, and she finds herself on the front. And if you just take them off one by one, suddenly they're further behind, and everybody has got to react. So Jeff Rooney is making his way back. We'll see if we can find Thomas. He's further down. He's still sticking along with his trusty Lieutenant Leonardo. And they can see 2 riders up the front. We'll see if we can figure out who that is. That looks to be Rick Woods, who is just up the road. But they're only 5 seconds down. So, like, this may look like a bad situation, but perhaps it could play out just all right. As Team Cognition's Alison Kubota, she's been getting really good lately as well. Like, Allison, watching her race, watching her perform. I mean, when Victor comes back from an night of racing, he's like, oh, they tore my legs off. And I did 2 zones. But someone like Allison, Frank, Kayla, they just week in, day out, they do 2 and 3 zones. And you just wonder, how incredibly fit are these people? Because it takes a lot out of you. But it's a lot of fun. But we watch. So, we're coming up to the halfway point. Everyone's still looking around. Casey's equalized heart rate is coming up. Ryan sitting on the outside, not quite getting that much of a draft, but perhaps just waiting for some luck to come his way. So, I mean, this is basically cycling. This is, you have a pack, and everybody's looking around, and they know the moment they attack, they have to commit. Vibeke is at 400 as Casey pulls a block on the bots. Casey pulls a block. Who does he get? Does he get Frank? I think he may have just gotten Frank. Oh, no, Frank's ahead of him. He got a green CVR jersey, but he went to the front and he slammed on the brakes. And he created like a Tetris line down the middle. And we'll see if we'll give him a super boost. But he moves on up. Eli to his right. Carl Axel Sanders to his left. And this opens the door for an attack. Frank opens the pace, 500 equalized watts, 450, definitely starting to push the pressure on now, as Vibeke at 680, 700 equalized watts, she must be feeling good tonight, because she's jumping on everything, and she is now trying to get across to Frank, and that would be a dangerous duo. Now, before, we've seen on Hypnotic Highway, when Frank goes up the road, Allison is quick to get back on the wheel and work with Frank. So far, she's just continuing the pacing. Casey was the one who made this initial break happen. Now, what's he gonna do? Sits on the wheel of Kayla. I think he knows something is up. I think he knows that somebody's gonna try to bridge, and if you can react to that move and get onto the wheel, you are in for a free ride back up to the 2 group. But they're not gonna make it easy. Kayla and Allison both trying to avoid letting each other draft. So I think if you are Allison, if you're Casey, you have to be wary of being on Kayla's wheel, because she has got her team captain up the road in Frank Garcia. He's got a rider in Vibeke Bertram on his wheel, and Kayla will not do any of the pacing to get this group back to the front. But remember, there is the but. The blue but up near the front at 367. So Frank on the front in the green with Vibeke in the red and white, of course, rocking the Danish colors. They've got to go above 367 as a unit in order to take on Fake Player in 3rd position. So Casey, Kayla, Allison, Carl Axel, and Ryan are currently in a good position with Jeff and Rick as well. But we'll see. At least Frank and Vibeke are throwing caution into the wind here, and they're trying to shake things up. So with 2 laps remaining, this is really giving an interesting dynamic as Jeff Rooney's using Quantum Shift. So Jeff Rooney, from the back of the group, uses Quantum Shift because he knows this is the pressure moment. This is where the race is won or lost. You have to be near the front and you have to be ready. And so at the front now, we've got 6, 7, 8 riders and 1 bot. So we look now as Jeff comes on through. He's used one of his Quantum Shifts. Ryan, the winner of the last race. Now, I think he said this was going to be the beast of the day, as Kayla now uses wind at her back. You get 2 of these, and she's using wind at her back. She's moving on up, and she might use this to slingshot her around. So she's on the outside. If she can continue up this momentum, she might be able to attack over the top here, but we'll see how much of that momentum will be left. So this is turning into a real proper cycling race. So CVRcade may be gamified fitness, but it is the most realistic physics, what's it called? Engine. That's the name. That's the word I'm looking for. It's the physics engine of CVRcade. It's the most realistic cycling simulator you'll find out there. So with Kayla accelerating from the back of the peloton, by the time that she gets to top speed and she's exhausted, well, she's only gotten to the front. So it's all about, you know, moving up, and then accelerating. So Carl, Axel Sander, and Casey have been distanced. Kayla, Frank, and Vibeke have succeeded. Now, Allison, Carl, Casey, Jeff, Ryan, what are they going to do? There are 2 Velocity Vixen teammates here, as Allison uses weight lifted and wind at her back at the same time. She realizes the danger of having 2 CVR riders in the front, and she's going to attack to get up to the front now. So she's succeeded in this before, but can she do it again? Casey Shum, Team Experimental rider, shake of the head. No, doesn't quite have it. He's still got his power-ups available, so you've got to choose when you're gonna use it. Further back, Ryan Goldenberg, trusting the AI rider. He's trusting Alexander, and he thinks it may be able to bring him back. But with Frank and Kayla on the front, I mean, if I was racing and I looked up at the riders nearby list and I saw 2 teammates with a gap of 10 seconds, I would be hoping that it wasn't these 2, because they understand how to take turns. They understand the dynamics it takes as Vibeke. Now, Vibeke was broadcasting in earlier, but like the dedication she has to race CVRcade is phenomenal. Now, the internet in her house is not strong enough to do CVRcade, so she's got her phone hotspot to ride CVRcade. Now, being on your hotspot, racing and broadcasting into the VMix, I imagine is a bit too much, but she's in there and she is definitely having good legs today. So Allison down in 5th, Ryan down in 7th. Ryan, being the statistics man he is, chooses to stay with the AI rider. That could work because the speed differential between Allison and Ryan at this point is 2 kilometers an hour. So we'll see. It'll bring you back. You'll spend less energy. And what this is really showing is that this is usually the race that saps your legs. It's the race that makes you think, oh, we've got 2 after this. I need to find another, like, energy deposit. But with it being so tactical and with it having bots like this, you should have fresher legs. You should be able to do Country Rally quicker. You should be able to do Fantastic Alien Sea quicker. And for those racing back-to-back zones, they should be significantly fresher going into that. So, 2 riders on the front. They're joined now by Carl Axel Sander and Vibeke Bertram as Frank finds himself on the front with Kayla. It's the steepest bit of Temple Run Hill, and Kayla is doing a great job helping out at the front, sharing the workload, and she's been in this position before. Now, remember that the Omnium score they get depends on the bonus points they gather at the end of the night, because every race has a scoring multiplier. They gather points as the race happens, but even prior to the racing, there are ways to ensure that you get bonus points. As Kayla just accidentally blocks Vibeke Bertram there. It looks like it was a bit of a dropout, but she gets back in. Now, before the racing even starts, if you are streaming, you get bonus points. If you have matching jersey with your in-game avatar, you get bonus points. If you are streaming with audio, you get bonus points. That's not all. If you're racing your preferred zone, which the following are Frank Garcia, Jeff Rooney, Alison Kubota, Nigel Doyle, Ryan Goldenberg, Vibeke Bertram, Rig Woods, Casey Shum, Kindrel Desai, Thomas Tippling, they will all get bonus points per event they finish. So, further back, the raging peloton of AI riders is still jogging along at 367, and it's an interesting thought experiment. So, there's a front group now. There's a breakaway of 4 human riders. They're going to be riding hard, but are they going to be able to keep away a chasing pack of several AI riders at 367? When you compare the relative speed between the two, it's gonna be close towards the end. They're 16, 17 seconds down here. They're gonna need to try and do something, but the question for the likes of Casey, Jeff, Allison, Rick, Ryan, etc. is it too late? And now we watch Thomas. He's lost his trusty companion in Leonardo. He's finding himself near the back as he uses wind at his back. Now, if you are Thomas, you're going to try and do your best to just finish this race to gather points for the overall Omnium score, because you've got 2 more races after this, so it's all about never giving up and continuing at the front. Allison, initially, when the move was made, attempted to get back on the wheel. She used 2 of her power-ups, and she was within 3 seconds, but she just wasn't able to commit all the way and close that gap. Whether that pays off or not, we'll wait and see, because the gap, 12, 13 seconds, it fully depends on the cooperation in the front group. I don't think we'll see Vibeke or Carl take any turns. I think they're happy just to sit on. So it comes down to the 2 CVR riders. Frank Garcia, Kayla Laguna, they will be taking turns on the front. You can see Kayla now moves to the front and she accelerates on through. So we've got 1 lap remaining next time we cross the finish line. And it's going to be so close. Because someone like Ryan has been sitting comfortably around the 160, 170 equalized heart rate. Jeff the same. Allison attempted to cross. And I think that's a telling sign that she may not have the legs tonight. Which would be no shame with how much she's raced. But it could be that she just went and thought, you know what? There are bots behind. As a rocket scientist, I'm just going to wait and do the calculation. But Frank's on the audio widget. He's communicating to his lieutenant, Kayla Laguna. They're communicating using the in-game audio widget, and they're saying, right, I'm feeling good. You can go harder. No, maybe slow it down. Or, you know, just attack. I have got nothing. These are all the sort of different commands you can share as you're racing, because as a team, you need to know, you need to communicate, you need to understand how the other person is feeling, because you are directly responsible for each other's outcome in the end. The gap is down to 9 seconds, and they can see them up the road. So ring that bell. For the last time of the evening, we're going to do Temple Run Hill. And Casey, I'm not sure if that's a panic or not, but he's choosing that this is the moment to cross to the front group of Vibeke, Kayla, Frank, and Carl. So 800 equalized watts. He uses every single power-up at his disposal. And he's got 4 seconds to the front, 3 seconds. As it starts to go up, he's got a chance now. He can see them. But this is where it hurts the most. You are so close, yet so far away. As he bridges the gap. That's a great move, and that's causing everyone else to panic, as Jeff Rooney here on the inside uses weight lifted, uses Razor's Edge. He is slightly off the back, and he may be suffering peacefully, but he's suffering nonetheless in the name of the game of fun, as Jeff Rooney tries to move on up. Alison Kubota, Ryan Goldenberg, Rick Woods, what are they gonna do? If you're Rick, I think you try and slow down the Butts. He's sitting in 7th place. I think you move on up, and I think you try and slow them down. But he's not quite doing that. The gap is 9 seconds, and we have 2 very distinctive groups up on the road. Casey, Frank, Kayla. As Frank Garcia says, right, Casey, you burned a match, time to bring out the lighter. Because Frank Garcia goes flamethrower all over that. Frank's on the attack. What does Casey have left? Vibeke, Carl, everyone responding. It is the last time they have to do Temple Run Hill. So Casey grinding the cadence. He's working on it. 500 equalized watts here as he's at 194. Shakes the head. He may not have it. What about Kayla? She's working to get across. She still has her power-ups. Ryan Goldenberg in the chasing group says time to bridge the gap. 8 seconds up the road. He needs every single position because the scoring multiplier is 2 and the difference between getting 6th and getting 2nd is significant. And he realizes this as he tries to bridge to the front group. Vibeke Bertram using weight lifted. She's in 5th. She's got 2 seconds up the road. Casey, Carl's up there, and Kayla's up there, and she is now trying to get up. This is turning out to be a fantastic cycling race to watch as everyone is just throwing caution into the wind here the last time up Temple Run Hill. Frank Garcia, last one to really put on the attack, and he's gained a gap of 6 seconds, but is it enough? With 3 kilometers to go, he's going to have to really dig deep within himself and find that extra gear. Because he attacked early. He's been out there with Vibeke for over a lap now. And so he's going to have to find something he didn't know. So he's been here before. Frank knows how to play this game. And we'll watch. Because down in the chasing group, Kayla Laguna is putting on a show. So she is now blocking the chasing group, and this is a gameplay mechanic that is made possible thanks to the uncrashable ability. So Kayla being the teammate of Frank, and I think this seals the deal as now Carl goes, right, you're gonna block me? Well, block this, as he uses weight lifted and he is gonna try and bridge across. And now somewhere Frank is going, oh no, Carl Axel Sander, I've got an angry Viking on my heels. What can I do? They come to pillage, and we'll see if they'll take Frank's dreams. As he is 7 seconds, 5 seconds, 4 seconds. He is coming in hot. Look at this now. 5 seconds up to the front. Ryan uses weight lifted just at the top. Kayla is being distant. She's got nothing left. Casey and Ryan duking it out. Ryan has ridden a good race so far. Now he uses Quantum Shift to try and come over the top. But the game, the match, the all-important strategies are happening at the front. Carl Axel Sander now uses wind at his back to try and get around. Now, the question is, did he panic using wind at his back? Is he at his limit? He doesn't have a heart rate strap, so he will get disqualified nonetheless in the official results. But what'd you give on the day? That's really what it comes down to as well. The official results are amazing, but personally, I feel whatever happens on the day is amazing. You may not show up in the overall results cycle data and CVR World Cup website, but you know what you've walked away with. And Frank, regardless of that, he's going to want to win this one outright. So 1 second between them. There is 9 seconds down to the chasing group with Casey, with Ryan, with Vibeke, and they've done 4 laps of Temple Run, 19 kilometers. almost 27 minutes down of racing so far, and they've got another minute and a half before they come to the finish line. So Casey and Ryan, they know each other very well. Two riders, as Casey comes around, just sits the next side to the next side of Ryan and says, I'm still here, I'm still here. And I think he's trying to work with Ryan. I think they're taking turns as they're only 8 seconds down. It's going to be interesting as we head into Country Rally after this to see who's got anything left in the tank. Frank Garcia still on the front. Rick Woods further down, pops every single power-up. Frank passes the bench that he so eloquently parked the bike at a few months ago, this time leaving it with plenty of space. So 4 seconds down to Carl. Carl was so close. He was within 2 seconds, but with 600 meters to go, Frank is in pole position to take Temple Run stage. Now, what this is doing to the overall standings means that it is incredibly close coming in to Temple Run, the highest scoring multiplier of Zone K. Ryan, Frank, Carl, they're all within 5 points of each other. And Ryan and Casey are catching up to Carl. So regardless of the early attack, Ryan and Casey have got a chance to get to the second spot on the podium in this race. Can they come by Carl Axel Sander now? That is the question. How much does he have left? He uses Quantum Shift. I think he's trying to block, but using Quantum Shift won't give you much. We'll catch Frank on the front here as we catch the awesome celebrations he's got in the tank. We'll look over the shoulder. Everyone is sprinting behind him as they come to the line. Frank celebrates, but it is Casey versus Ryan. Casey comes over the line in third. Vibeke takes fifth. Just nothing left but the sprint for secondary positions. Kayla versus Vibeke, and onto the line. It's gonna be close, as I couldn't even call that. Kayla's looking, she's looking, and what's it gonna come down to? I think at the end of that, it's still waiting. Kayla does take it. Let's have a look at the instant replay one more time as Kayla sees the result. Coming into the sprint, it was close. It was Ryan, Casey, Carl, with Frank already up the road. They were giving it everything. They'd had a nice ride until that point, thanks to the bots sitting in, getting those high draft percentages. Coming into the end, Frank was unrivaled as he had a significant gap down to the second and third place. He could sit up, enjoy the moment, hard-fought victory. We see the celebration, but further back, the story is Ryan with his power-up is getting away, and he caught over the line next. Hopefully we get a chance to see that replay further in. But Frank, congratulations. That was one heck of a victory. What was it like to have the bots in there for the long, low-skill event?
They kind of made it hard. So, you could get good draft percentages, but then people started playing with the bots, doing some blocking and whatnot. Casey did a block, and the thing about blocking is often, you got to slow way down too. So I thought that was a good time to attack.
It paid out in the end. You and Kayla, you seem to always find a way to get to the front. How do you coordinate those attacks? Because Team CVR seems to be doing it again and again and again. What's the trick to getting up the road with a teammate?
We yell and scream at each other in audio channels on CVRcade. So it was pretty fun this time because I'm like, what are you doing on the front pulling? And she's like, I'm blocking. And I'm like, don't be on the front. You're going too hard. You're bringing it back. Some fun stuff. Generally, good team tactics.
And when you then go to the front, because I think a lot of people are wondering about this, how do you measure your turns? Because we see it with you, with Rick, with Kayla. You understand how to do a chain gang at the front. How do you get better at that?
You just got to practice. There's lots of little secrets, some I won't share. But just consistency, as long as you're consistently in the draft, that's really good. I used to be a horrible time trialist, probably still am in a sense that I probably wouldn't go that fast, but I can definitely do longer efforts because of CVRcade now at high intensity, and that's what you're doing there. So I was on fit here a while back, and so I started going off the front just to get a little fitter. And I've developed that into a skill, which is a skill that I couldn't couldn't develop for 40 years before. But I think on CVRcade, the reason for that is you know you can stay away if you just go hard enough, and because everybody else has to go that hard, it's not like they're twice as strong as you and they're just going to catch you. So that's how you measure the effort. Just learn how to maintain an intensity.
I've always said, Frank, you were a natural-born time trialist, so I'm glad you're coming to that realization too. Talk to me about Country Rally. 40 seconds to go, highest score multiplier. What's this like to race?
I hope lots of people stay with the bots because it's going to be crowded with the bots. So I think you got to get out of the gate fast on this one and try and stay away. Not crash, obviously, is the key on this. It's a rhythm course. It's really fun in that sense. So it's not super high intensity, but it's hard enough with rhythm.
There you have words of wisdom from Frank Garcia himself. Good luck in Country Rally. It is close at the top. The current virtual leader is Ryan Goldenberg with a good finish on the last race. He maintains his lead coming into this one, but you heard what Frank said. You have to be careful of the bots because they might be quick, but they will definitely take some of these turns too quick and they might hit a barn door or two. So Frank goes sprinting out of the gate at 1,000 equalized watts here. And we'll see. We've seen him before come quick out of the gate, but only to crash in the first corner. So you do have one corner caper, and you do have one wind at your back. Nigel choosing to use his corner caper early on, and with it being a rhythm course, that might not be the dumbest of choices, as now we can see Allison and Ryan, they're finding themselves side by side. The addition to this being a rhythm course, you've also got wind, as every single AI bot takes a nap by the side of the road. Thomas Tippling here from Sweden, coming in, racing in 8th place. He's moving on up, and he's been getting better and better as well. Him, Vibeke Bertram, they've been really making some noise in the CVRcade community as of late. But one thing is being good on the power, another thing is nailing these rhythm courses. Kayla in 7th. I see we've also got the Flying Dutchman. He'll be making an appearance in the next zone as Casey Shum makes him crash. I'm sure Casey is going to have a smile about that one. I think it was like, oopsie. Wasn't sure. But there you've got a gameplay dynamic. As you come up to a disabled lane or you come up to an obstacle, if you maintain your lane, the other rider either has to accelerate or de-accelerate to get out of that position. Peter did neither, and therefore he went headfirst into the barriers. Now, you got 3 laps of Country Rally of this, and now with wind at your back, Allison is choosing to turn a headwind into a tailwind. So Allison and Ryan choosing to use their pub. So is Casey, so is Kayla. But up the road is Frank Garcia. He's 4 seconds up. He's up here with Nigel Doyle. Nigel's been getting very good at racing CVRcade recently. We saw him on Saturday going toe-to-toe with Team CVR, and now representing the CCC colors, racing his preferred zone. He's out to a lead. We're doing 3 laps of Country Rally. The first lap you're feeling confident, the second lap you feel confident, but when the fatigue starts to hit in, that's when you start to think, oh, I can fit through that gap. Oh, there's not a hay bale there. But most often, there is a hay bale right there. Allison making her way back up. She can now see Frank Garcia and Nigel Doyle, Team CVR and Team CCC. As with cognition, she is flying that flag high tonight. And after this race, her teammate, Sebastian Kuhn, will be entering the broadcast as well. And he's been on stellar form as of late. But she's making up now. Next time we come to the finish line, we'll hear the bell ring, and that will be the last lap of racing. We bring down the scoreboard. You can see Frank Garcia, with the position he's in, is now clawing away from Ryan coming into Fantastic Alien Sea. Both of them have done well so far, but with the higher scoring multiplier races, this is where it matters a lot. Frank is gaining over 20 points on Ryan, so Ryan may have won the first race of the evening, but the difference of 3 spots here on Country Rally is the difference of 20 points. And coming into Fantastic Alien Sea with a score multiplier of 2, you've got to be on your A game. Alison Kubota, we wait for her to attack. She's sitting in the draft as much as she can from Frank and from Nigel, but with that 7 kilometers an hour wind, it is relentless to try and get a rest. You've got to be on it at all times, but she starts to accelerate. At 42 kilometers an hour, she's gaining, and I think we're going to see Frank Garcia start his approach as well, as now he uses corner caper as he makes Nigel Doyle make a mistake. And you can only imagine the shake of the head of Nigel Doyle, as we saw them plenty on Saturday. So that's the move from Frank Garcia. Allison didn't have to use her corner caper. She still have hers left, and coming into the sprint, that will be a major advantage. Casey Shum uses his corner caper coming into that corner. Now he's accelerating, but that corner caper is running majorly as Thomas used his corner caper, but I think he hit the barn door. Doesn't matter if you slide out when the door is closed. So Casey attempting a comeback, and with the AI riders, this is going to be close, because the AI riders are going to start to block lanes. They could very well be a nuisance. Frank takes a left, Allison takes a right, Kayla crashes, Casey's trying to get back, Nigel Doyle tumbles again. It is all kicking off here with the front row seats. Allison in third place, Frank on the inside. Can he move? He's finding himself boxed in and coming up to the rocks as Allison uses corner caper. She is in prime position, but when it runs out, will it run out? Yes, it does. Allison Kubota takes country rally of the evening. She can be proud of that one. Head down. Casey Shum third. Celebration from Allison. Ryan Goldenberg will be next over the line in fourth. So it does change the rankings quite a lot, the Omniums. You got Jeff, you got Carl, you got Rick, you've got Thomas Tippling. Hit into the barriers once more. So he was at the front. But again, rhythm courses, they are a different animal. Let's have a look at the instant replay again. So coming into that finish line, Frank Garcia found himself on the inside of that pace line, and he knew that that is not the place you want to be coming into the straight, because with the locks, the way they're positioned, it favors the outside line. So Frank slowed down on purpose. Allison chose that opportunity to attack with corner caper. It was executed to perfection, and she can now see the finish line, and with no riders inside, she takes the victory and puts her into third place ahead of fantastic Alien C. Frank took second, Casey in third, and Ryan down in fourth. So let's we haven't heard much from Casey today, but let's have a quick word with Casey as he is also in the broadcast. Casey, that moment you made Peter Kastrup crash, what's it like seeing that obstacle? You're on his outside and he does take a tumble. What's that like?
Yeah, you know it's coming if you can catch him in those outside lanes. That's why I don't even try to cut the corners. Somebody just comes in on your hip, and I mean, his only choice was to slam on the brakes or pass me or wreck. So if you lose focus, you're in trouble. You got to stay in the middle.
Talk to me about the physics engine of CVRcade, because to me, broadcasting it looks like a real cycling race. It looks like a crit. You're dodging obstacles. Well, I guess you don't really have obstacles, but you're dodging riders, yeah, and you're trying to get in the draft. You have raced a ton. How does it emulate real life? Like, how good is it?
Yeah, I mean, it is really good at emulating the real life stuff. You're coming up on those riders at the end, for example. I just kind of sat back and didn't make a mistake. And Frank kind of got pinned in by him, and I thought I was going to get around him. You know, and even coming into this race, I expected to ride it a certain way because last time I rode it, we didn't have wind. You put the wind in it, and it rode completely different from a race perspective. So those types of dynamics, just it adds one more layer of thinking you've got to do when you race.
Then it's got to be very satisfying when you do the thinking and you execute on that thinking. Like, what's that feeling like? Because you race a ton on virtual platforms. You're part of the CVRcade World Cup. Like, what's it like to do all the homework, come in, and then execute perfectly?
Yeah, it feels good to nail it, but it's so hard to do. I mean, even that first race, for example, you know, Frank and I finished in like 9th and 10th or something like that. We didn't sit up. We didn't miss something there. It just, somebody else getting it right can make that big of a difference. So there's a lot of luck to it and skill. So it definitely feels good when you nail it. It also feels good to have people that have your back, which I'm feeling a little lonely today.
Well, you know the answer to that. You're part of Team Experimental. Where are they at? Where's the Joachim Plumers? Where's the rest of that happy bunch?
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of timing, and then honestly, the practice you've got to get. You know, the learning curve, it takes a little bit and can get frustrating.
Oh, we've lost Casey there for a second, but he's still racing. We're still here, everybody. On the topic of frustrating, I remember Casey's first entry into CVRcade. He's really come a long way, and he's so good, and he's such a natural. And with him in 4th place, I would not count him out now as we get ready for the last race of Zone K. Remember, we've got another race. Casey's back in the stream. Remember, we've got another race after this in Zone L. We're going to see some new faces. We're going to see some familiar faces as we get underway. Thomas Tibbling been having some breakout performances recently. Last race of the evening, it's 2 laps of fantastic aliency. You go up it and you come down it, and you repeat that twice. As Thomas slams into the backer Peter, you can see him look down, not happy with that mistake. We go to the front, and it is, of course, Frank Garcia, Ryan Goldenberg, Carl Axel Sander. They're going head to head. So if we try and have a look at the scoreboard, Frank and Ryan, direct competitors, both have this as their preferred zone. Both are streaming in, getting maximum points. So what you're seeing on the scoreboard between the two of them is most likely what's going to be the finalized result. But a lot can happen. Thomas Tibbling just off the back here. If he puts in an attack, he may be able to get back in on the draft, or he's being joined by the AI riders. Elisha, Robert, Margaret, Eli. Not Eli Manning, but hopefully somebody else. As you can see, Thomas Tibbling just sitting in, getting that draft. There is a wind once more, and you heard Casey talk about the effects of the wind. You can practice a course. You can practice it again and again and again, but when you change the dynamics, such as the wind, you just throw a spanner in the works and you turn the whole race upside down. And Peter Castro is on the front. Frank's down in 8th place. We have 2 riders on the attack. Will Peter and Ryan work together? There's no uncrashable. There's no corner caper. There's no quantum shift. No training wheels whatsoever. You are on your 2-wheeled, even to a degree, a unicycle at this point, where you've got to find your balance and get ready. So Ryan has got the bandana on his head, catching all the sweat, keeping the eye on the prize as the chasing group catches up. The fake players are really adding a layer to this, and you heard Frank say it makes the racing really tough because yes, you're getting the draft percentages, you're getting that rest in the wheel, but it means the pace is significantly higher. It means that there's always that constant pressure. So yes, you get a rest, but if you make one mistake, if you make one slip up, that becomes much more significant, and we watch. So the early attacks have been nullified. Vibeke is in this group. Jeff, Peter, Casey, Nigel, Rick, Ryan. They're all keeping an eye on each other. And it's going to come down, like, from 1st down to 5th, from 1st down to 9th, from 1st down to 12th. Every single position is up in the air as Nigel takes another tumble. Oh, I wish we had Nigel's facial reaction on, because on Saturday, when he broadcasted in for Zone L, we had the 1,000 head shakes evening, and it was brilliant to see our friend from New Zealand racing, and just knowing that he could have done better. As we come to the end of the first lap, I think we might get rid of the bots here, because this descent is rather treacherous. You have to be careful of the tight corners, especially the last corner. So we will lose the butts. So if you're in the wheel of the butts, you have to be careful. Kayla on the front now, ahead of them. I think you need to almost try and get ahead of the butts, because the last corner is like a tight 36 kilometers an hour corner. And if you're on the right side, a few butts go down. They're already going down there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all having a picnic by the side. Vibeke gets caught up in it. And Casey Shum as well, having to brake. Not happy, shaking his head. So getting caught up in the carnage, and you could expect it. You could see that that was about to happen with the pace that the bots were doing. They were bound to crash. Peter on the left, Ryan on the inside. Peter just nails it, but Ryan is in trouble. 3 CVR team members are on the attack, and we're entering the last lap in Zone K. We're doing 2 hours of streaming live here on Mixer, so don't go anywhere following this. We have another zone starting at, well, at the top of the hour, so in 6 minutes time. These guys have got to finish quick if they want to get into the next one, but weightlifted being used together with Razor's Edge. Kayla, Frank once more find themselves. They have to be careful they don't go too quick. And as I say that, Frank Garcia and Kayla is saying my fault. So Frank, come in too quick. When you were using Razor's Edge and weightlifted, you go significantly faster than you're used to, and that can turn some corners into dangerous corners. And from one moment, just like that, Frank goes from the top to the bottom as he finishes from first to second on the scoreboard. There's still an opportunity though, because I think Frank is in the hot seat here. He's going to require help from Rick and Kayla. So either Frank needs to get back to the front group, or Rick and Kayla needs to put out a hit on Ryan Goldenberg and make him slow down or just not win this race. And with 2 kilometers to go, he is all alone on the front, and he's just trailing Rick Woods. Casey Shum uses Razor's Edge. He's trying to break away. He's at 176. He's comfortably in 3rd place. Alison Kubota is 8 points behind. She's down in 7th place. If she moves up, she might be able to go above Casey. 6 points behind now as she passes Peter Castro. And she's got Frank Garcia and Kayla Laguna in her sights. If she manages to pass Vibeke, Frank, and Kayla, I think she'll take 3rd over Casey. But a chasing group is now being created down here. And it all comes down to that unfortunate mistake that Frank made into the corner. Kayla got on through safely, and Ryan uses the Razor Edge power-up. You heard him at the top of the hour. You heard him say, if I've got the legs, I can have the confidence. If I can take on the beast, well, we'll just see what happens tonight. He's so far conquered the beast of Temple Run, and he's taking on the creature that is Fantastic Alien Sea. Fantastical beasts and creatures and where to find them. Ryan Goldenberg is using all his magic here in the first race. Rick Woods 2nd place, Casey 3rd. It is very, very close. Casey is not giving up. He's 6 seconds down, and Allison has officially passed Casey on the scoreboard. She's 2.5 points up on Casey now, as she finds herself down in 4th, but she's joined by a significant amount of riders. Can Ryan do it? There's a bit of a tumble dryer affair on Country Rally. He was up the front, he wasn't. He lost a few points. He still maintained the gap thanks to Frank slowing down. But we watch, with 800 meters to go, Ryan is going to come on down now. He's got the descent. We saw crashes last time. Where is Frank? Frank is in 6th place. He continues to work hard. I mean, at some point you've got to remember as well, there is Zone L starting in 3 minutes time. If you are intending on racing both, if you've got both as your preferred zone, you've got to be on it. You've got to make sure you get to that finish line in time to make the Dark Matter Tech race. Casey on the front. Ryan has been caught by Rick. He's taking a very slow approach. Casey's there. Here's Ryan and Rick. 300 meters to go. Ryan is not risking it at all as he is choosing a conservative line, a conservative pace. Slows down to 36 kilometers an hour. It's him versus Rick Woods to the line. Not sprinting for it, letting Rick Woods having it, as now Casey's trying to get every point. He needs to beat Ryan in order to take it. But Ryan Goldenberg, preliminary winner of the Omnium, 2nd place, smile on his face. Casey Shum next over the line. He tried to catch Ryan, realizing with Allison in 4th, she will take 3rd place on the podium here, which is a very great result for the always awesome Alison Kubota. Frank Garcia, 5th place. You could see Allison's reaction as she's happy to secure that position. Frank takes that one. Kayla next. And then Thomas Tippling will be over the line next as we're getting ready for the next zone. So as we see the instant replay, we're getting ready for Zone L as well. So 50 seconds time, everyone has now got to do another zone if they're doing it. So you're watching the replay, Ryan Goldenberg coming on down. It was him versus Rick Woods. But in the end, it didn't really matter to him whether he came first or second. He knew he was possibly doing a second zone here or not. So you can see him just coming over the line, being happy with the Omnium win. 25 seconds to go, and Zone L will get underway. So if you can get a quick word from the zone winner, that is Ryan Goldenberg. Congratulations, Ryan. That was a hard-fought victory through all 4 events. 10 seconds to go before the next one starts. What advice would you give to this next set of racers as they head into the Omnium you've just won preliminary?
I thought I'd do this next one just as a cool down, so I'll talk to you while I'm making it.
Well, good luck. Have fun with the cool down. You never know. You might just have the legs to be able to do both. So, riders getting ready here. As you can see, Ryan on the screen. We've also got Sebastian Kuhn in the race. I think he's getting ready to join the broadcast at any time as well. But with it being so close, making that second set of races, there are some out there that are going to be wanting to race this second zone, and they will, but they may just lose out on this first one. We look at the riders that have made it in here. You've got Frank Garcia is in this second set of races in Zone L. Alison Kubota is in here. Rene Valade is in here. Ben Shuilong, Peter Kastrup is in here. But we watch. The last time we were on Dark Matter Tech, it was an affair that went from the left, then to the right, and to the left, and to the right. You were thinking it was like the cha-cha dance, but no. It was a CVRcade World Cup race, and we do it again, as there are very precious points for the Omniums. As we're now heading into to week 3 of the open session, if you want to move on up and gather maximum points as a rider, they're trying to take the inside lane. I think it was Allison who was just trying to swap lanes. You've got to be on it. But as every week progresses, you can maximum have your best 8 scoring races count. And this is now for many a chance to rectify some of their worse performance in the previous weeks and do better this. But Peter Kastrup, the Flying Dutchman, is in here and racing. You can see, there's a sign on there. I'm not sure what it just said. We'll see when he comes back in. But Peter Kastrup of Team CCC is in. Alison Kubota, believe it or not, she's an absolute rock star because she's also doing all 3 zones tonight. She's doing Zone K, Zone L, and then later tonight we're doing Zone T. I'm not sure what time it is universally, but here in the UK it is 3 in the morning, and I can't wait to wake up with a coffee and be there and bring you all the action as we watch CVRcade World Cup racing. So this one, we've got 12 riders making the cut. I think we'll see more as we head into Zone L after this. The riders that have this as their preferred zone: Timothy Termont, Sebastian Kuhn, Kale Laguna, Homer Thompson, Peter Kastrup, Ryan Goldenberg, Rene Valades. We'll see how it plays out. Frank Garcia in here again. Neil Stewart, 3 seconds off the back with the chasing peloton. 700 meters to go. Last time here, Frank let go of the front, and I think we may see the same thing again. Peter Kastrup also letting go off the front there. So we're down. Frank and Peter both opting to use their comeback kits a lot earlier. So Peter gets nullified. Oh, Peter tried to be cheeky, but Frank out-cheekied him. And they're using their comeback kits because it lasts for 45 seconds, and they get a 100% boost. But somebody is slowing. Oh, it's a lap rider. He's still got it. 300 meters to go, and he's got a 10-kilometer-an-hour speed boost. But how quickly does that come down? It's an alternative method, and we see how it plays out. Frank is on the limit, giving it everything. But I think it could be Ryan once more who will take the win. Or is it Ben? Is it? Oh, I can't tell. We need an instant replay. We need to slow that way down, because that was so close. Excellent gameplay mechanics from both Peter and Frank. But unfortunately, Peter got not outsmarted, but they both did exactly the same at the same time. And the way comeback kit works is if you hit another rider, if you catch another rider, it stops. And unfortunately for Peter, that rider was Frank, and Frank was 1 second up ahead. So that disabled his power up. Well, 100 meters to go. Frank is coming through with so much speed, but thanks to the abilities that make it a no-skill event, it's not too difficult to get up to speed. And you can see Frank smile there, knowing he's been caught. And Ryan, Ben, are so close. Ben takes it in front of Rene Valades with Ryan down in third. So we get ready now. Ryan, we can have that post-race interview. Congratulations on winning the Omnium. Third place in the next one. What are the legs saying? Are they saying continue for Zone L? Or what's happening in the Goldenberg camp?
I will be completing another zone today, but not this one. I might show up to hang out and race with some friends later on. My tonight, I don't know what hour it's going to be. But yeah, Zone K was really fun. Frank and I went back and forth. I think we traded leads at the end of each event. I honestly thought they had me. I think it was 4 CVR jerseys in the front group of Alien C, and I figured no way I'm going to be able to outsmart them on my own. I don't know if it was my CVR jersey that threw them off, or maybe it was too many cooks in the kitchen. They just got in each other's way. I think I didn't see exactly how Frank crashed, but that obviously opened the door for me, and I just went for it at that point. So yeah, good racing, Frank, and everybody in that first Omnium.
I was going to say, it's a shame you're not joining this next one, because you've already done it once. How difficult can it be to do it twice? But I won't say that. What advice would you give? Because this is the thing when we do the CVRcade World Cup zones, because you get to do it once, and because the events are the same, but you get different people, what advice would you give to the other ones? Because you were there, then you got caught with the points, then you were back on top. What would you say really works tonight?
Yeah, I don't know what I would say overall. I could tell you for this event, the first time around, Frank and I took very different strategies. We're slightly different, I would say. He went at kind of the beginning of the. I don't know what I would say overall. Hold on one second.
No worries.
Okay, I'm back. Yeah, Frank went at the beginning of the third lap last time, and he felt he could hold it, and he committed, and he did. I just followed the bots until kind of the midway of the last climb, and then decided to surge. So I guess it depends how you're feeling. If you can go from far out, it could pay off. And don't get in the way of any other big trails of bots and mixed riders, because you don't know what's going to happen in front of you.
That is very valuable advice. Thank you, Ryan. We get ready for the next set of races here as Dark Matter Tech already happened. If you are enjoying this and you're watching it here on Mixer, we highly recommend you click that follow button down below, because we're doing a 2-hour stream now. And if you're watching to this point, I know you. You're sitting there with your coffee, with your Coke, with your popcorn. You're like, I came across this. I was just scouring Mixer and I came across physical esports. You're like, I don't know what to think, but I'm still here and I'm enjoying watching Frank suffer. I'm enjoying watching Ryan with his, I don't know what that bandana is. Like, then you should click the follow button. Then, like, down below, because we're going to be live in, let's see if we can do the math, 5, 3. We're going to be live in 8 hours from now as well. And if you want to catch that action, which I bet you do, you click that follow button, you get a notification, and you get to see more riders. I believe tonight we're going to have Aaron Starling into the action. We're going to have Daniel LeBlanc into the action as well. And if you want to watch how they race, well, all you got to do is tune into the action tonight. So straight from the gun here on Temple Run, looks like Ryan Goldenberg is just using his power-ups, getting out to the front. Last cooldown. As I think he's trying to show off his beard. I'm not sure what's happening, but no. Attacks from the gun and then sits up. So we watch the other riders. We watch how they pan out here. As Kayla, Neil Stewart is off to the front. So freeze the frame, take the picture. 2 Canadians up the front who ordered maple syrup, as Ryan and Neil are off the front, but both of them now coming back. Homer Thompson of Team CCC is also up here. Peter Kastrup, Alison Kubota, and Frank Garcia. Sebastian Kuhn further back, getting caught up. And some of the riders is Ryan slowing it down here. Ryan is just, he's absolutely hammering the road as now the bots are coming back up. Homer Thompson on the front. Frank Garcia is down here as well. They've done it once before. and you can see the effort it requires. I mistakenly made the assumption that I thought it makes sense now, but when I first saw this, I'm like, well, the bots, you get a drafting, but Temple Run is so twisty, and you're seeing that now from Frank Garcia. Because Temple Run is either left or it's right, it's left or it's right, you don't get that much of a draft unless you're right up there in the grill. And right now, Frank is missing out on the barbecue, when you can see him using that power-up to get back in, and this will help him calm back down once he finds the draft, finds a comfortable place to be. But Homer Thompson, 6 seconds up the road, he did this in Hypnotic Highway. He attacked from so far out. He maintained the gap all the way to the end. But this, with the bots, it's going to be difficult. He's going to need help from his teammate Ben Shuilong, who he's going to require to go to the front and slow down the Thomas, the Orvilles, the Alexanders, the Benjamins. But that may not be the case, as Kayla attacks on through here with Quantum Shift. So she attacks on through the group, and she's going to try to bridge across. So shaking things up, making them a bit more lively here as Kayla Laguna attacks across. 3 seconds, she uses wind at her back. And if she gets with Homer, they could very well work together and get a gap and try and change the groups. As 5 seconds is the gap. Ben Shuilong, Frank, Sharon, Allison, everybody seems to have tired legs at this point. Sebastian, Peter, they're down in 19th and 20. Both seeming have to park the bike. So Frank has got a teammate up the road. That means he is not required to chase. You can see him talk using the in-game audio widget. When we cut to him, when we went to him after the previous zone, when we went to him after Temple Run, we asked him, what is the secret sauce? What is the secret formula to getting off the front and having a teammate? And he said, well, usually it comes down to us yelling and screaming at each other, and we're seeing the same thing, as you can see. So, Kayla, Homer, off the front here together now, as Homer is sitting at 400 equalized watts at 192. Now, Frank's in this second group. I think we should get a word from him just to see how the team captain is feeling. Frank, you're in a comfortable position now with Kayla up the road. Is Team CVR all happy at this point?
It doesn't feel comfortable at the moment. Still on a climb. But yeah, I think we're... CCC did some blocking there. Try and free up Ben and Homer. We countered with some power-ups. We'll see how it goes.
We'll see how it goes. We'll let Frank get to the top of this and come back to him here as we're on the steeper gradient. So, yeah, you heard it first. We may have missed it here as Team CCC tried to get Ben up the road with some blocking. It didn't quite work out, but they did maintain one rider to get away, Homer Thompson. But Team CVR aptly reacted to this, and now Kayla, is she going to work with Homer, or is she going to try and attack over the top? Possibly she's got a few different situations and scenarios to play out here, because she can either choose to keep the chain gang running and keep the chain tight and take turns with Homer. Secondly, she can choose to put on the brakes. We've seen this with Motti before and Sebastian Kuhn on Cityscape New York. Or she can just try and attack over the top and leave Homer behind. So those are the three scenarios that we're now going to see Team CVR and Kayla cycle through in their roulette of options as we get ready. But as the racing unfolds here, if we've got the highlights from the last time we were on Temple Run, just to give you a reminder of what happened in Zone K. So Zone K, we saw several riders getting in amongst the action, and it was one of the first times we had a significant amount of bots taking up the roles. And here we saw Frank accidentally blocking Kayla in, slowing her down as they were jostling for position at the back, trying to move on up as Vibeke in the red and white on the right accelerated through the group, trying to break things up, but ultimately it was an attack later on by Casey, by a few other riders that was going to make the move. Kayla and Frank found themselves off the front. They had Vibeke up there as well, as Allison tried to bridge the gap. She tried to get across, and so did Carl Axel Sander. And with 2 laps to go, it was quite the task, but they managed to do so. It was all together as they came to the last lap of racing. Vibeke, Carl Axel Sander, Frank Garcia, and Kayla Laguna. And then Casey had to do something. He was in that chasing group on the straightaway. You can see him digging deep, using every power-up in his arsenal. Quantum shift, weight lifted, trying to get back to the front group. And once more, he just had to get up there. But Frank Garcia, not known for his charitable causes, letting back other riders once the move has been established. But coming into the sprint, Frank Garcia was comfortable with his 7-second gap down to the Viking Carl Axel Sander. The sprint for second place, though, was fascinating, with Carl trying to block Ryan, but Quantum Shift makes you like ghostable, so it doesn't actually succeed in blocking whatsoever. So Ryan managed to get on through, sprinted past him, and took second place, with Frank taking maximum points and adding another celebration to his arsenal. So that was Temple Run Zone K. We're now in Temple Run Zone L. The situation here is rather similar, yet very different, because you have Kayla, you have Homer. You do have that two-man breakaway like we saw with Vibeke and Frank, but Kayla and Homer not quite working together here, and the group behind now is catching back up. With the bots in charge, the gap is down to 4 seconds, and that attack that cost Kayla power-ups effort, it may just be nullified. But it comes down to what this group decides. In this group, you've got two riders. You got Ben and you got Frank. So two teams essentially are going head to head. Which team is the better co-op team? Is it Team CVR or is it Team CCC? The yellow versus the green. Who's going to be the dominant color? The rules of cycling usually say yellow trumps the green, but we'll see if that's going to be the case when they step to the top of the podium here in Temple Run Hill. Ben Shuilon, by the way, fantastic racing on Saturday. Raced his preferred zone, came in, he saw, he conquered, he went. And today, he's trying to do that honor once more. He's up against some of the same racers as Saturday. He's got a bit more support with Peter, with Ben, and with Homer. And we'll see. He's unfortunately not streaming in today, so we can't see the always awesome smiling face of Ben Shui along with Team CCC across the chest. But nonetheless, he is broadcasting into the... So he's racing into the broadcast. Homer Thompson as well. I mean, you just can't help smile when Homer attacks, when he suffers. He's got such a nice personality, and when he races, he can be so ruthless at the front. And we'll see. Now, Homer and Kayla are now taking turns, realizing the danger of the pack behind them. And at one point or another, you probably have to make a decision. You probably have to determine whether or not you sit up and wait for the back or you go on the offensive as Homer once more accelerates. 700 equalized watts, and the same from Kayla Laguna, the yellow helmet and the green kit. She is right on the wheels of Homer Thompson. If we look at the scoreboard, it is quite close at the top. Homer, Ben, Frank, Rene are all up there. I don't seem to see Rene in this race. He is further down the road, so he will be losing some very important points here. But Frank, Ben, Homer, and Kayla and Allison, they'll be taking good points away from this race. So the road captain of Team CVR, Frank Garcia, sitting in. Let it be known that it is not comfortable on the hill, but it looks to be almost fate, as Team CVR has got recruited a butt in the green jersey. I think it's Alexander on the front, putting down 367 equalized watts. Now, 367 equalized watts is the magical number, because we're using something called physical equalization. It equalizes everybody across all different backgrounds to be able to ride and race and train together, and it takes your real watts and then turns them into equalized watts. And 367 is somebody's 100% basically. It takes their effort and says that's your 100% effort, and if you're doing that, that's 100%. You can go above it, you can go below it. Those are all the different interplays you can have in a CVRcade race. I mean, they're gaining now in the front, 8 seconds, 9 seconds. Previously, they were down to just 4 seconds at the bottom here, second time up the hill. But now, Kayla and Homer are corroborating. They're working together, and Ben and Frank are both comfortable sitting in. What we saw in the last Omnium was that Temple Run mattered a lot, but at the end of the day, it's a scoring multiplier of 2. It's a long race. It's the longest race of the evening. It's one of the longest races we do in the CVRcade World Cup. But it only has a score multiplier of 2. So you can work hard, you can suffer hard, but directly following this, we're heading to Country Rally, where you're going to be dodging logs, you're going to be dodging barn doors, there's going to be dodging hay bales, where, I mean, that has a score multiplier of 3 because it's a high skill event. So you have to perform well, and every single point matters, but Temple Run can be so sapping on the legs, and you've got to remember to keep something left to the end. Allison is finding herself down in 16th. She's got the head down. She's chugging along, but that last race seems to take a lot out of her. Sharon Hackerthorn up in 13th. So 4 riders is it down to on the front, and we'll see. You can see Frank on the audio still talking to Allison. 7, 8 seconds. We'll see if Frank can still hear us. Frank, do you think this will come back, this 2-man group up the front?
I hope not. They're working hard. Hopefully they'll work together. A long way to go yet. They're not quite as smooth as they could be, but we'll see.
So how could they be smoother?
I just think the power fluctuations are, too high. So Kayla's on the front. She's going, 200, 400. She's not maintaining a really smooth pace. It'll help if she does.
We'll keep an eye on as we go back to the front. So if you're taking notes, and I know so many are out there, if they're not racing, if they're not streaming, if they're not watching live, on demand, they go back and they watch the broadcast. They sit there, and I know especially my executive producer, whenever he's racing, he watches the broadcast back religiously and laughs at himself and laughs at his mistakes. Well, other riders like Quinton, like Timothy, and I'm sure Frank and Kayla, Motty, Ryan, etc. do the same, and Ben Shuilong, they sit there with their notepad and they take notes and they're like, oh, on Temple Run, coming into this corner, I could have done this better, or my power-up usage, I mean, I need to do better next time. And with Frank saying that the power fluctuation is too high, you keep an eye on the riders nearby list, the leaderboard top right. You see that big 3-digit number changing from 400 down to 300. You can get on the front, and if you got fresh legs, if you've got control, you can sit there at like 367, 400, maintain it, and swing off and let the other one get to the front. But that's not an easy technique. That is something that takes practice, and more practice. So Kayla is quite good at it, but it's a 2-up thing. You gotta have 2 riders together, understanding their signals, their signs, and their communication. Homer and Kayla have rarely found themselves together off the front like this, so as they take turns, and now you can see the group is only 4 seconds back. Frank said he hopes the group doesn't come back, but 3 seconds is the gap now. I think it is coming back to the front. So you worked so hard to keep it at bay, but we'll see. This happened last lap. I mean, they got within 4 seconds, and then come the hill, they got away. And I think Ben and Frank are still keeping an ace up their sleeve, because whenever they want to, just like because this is an uncrashable race, you can slow down other humans. If you want to, you can also slow down other riders. So Ben is in second wheel. You can see Frank move up. Now, if the group catches back up again, you have to be careful you don't get attacked over the top. In cycling, when a breakaway gets caught by the pack, you often see counterattacks. You often see riders loading up the spring, they've been sitting in, they've been fresh, and then they attack and they strike. And when you are at your most vulnerable, and you've worked so hard, and you can't believe the group is coming back, and you see them attack, that's when you're figuring out what you are made of. So 1 second to the front now. Homer is still going. We look from above. You can see the yellow CCC kit is going away, and Kayla in the green in between. And so how much has she spent trying to make this breakaway work? You got 4 riders. I think it'll be 4 riders who's got a chance of taking that overall Omnium today. Remember, you do get bonus points, so the scoreboard is preliminary. As you gather points live, past or after the race is done, post-race, you have the addition of bonus points. You have the preferred zone, in which case Kayla and Homer have got this as the preferred zone that are racing this. And so that's where it matters. Ben Shuilong, this is what we're talking about. Frank Garcia, as well as Ben Shuilong, As they get caught, Ben attacks away. I think he wants to try and get across to his teammate, but Frank, very aware to this, he's been sitting in, and I think we're about to see time trialist Frank Garcia unleashed as he now chooses to attack away. Ben attempted this, Ben initiated this, and now the two yellow CCC jerseys have got to react to this. Homer and Ben. Kayla still got some left, and with 8.4 kilometers to go, still a lot of racing left. And there's a lot of plays that can be made, a lot of mistakes that can be made, a lot of effort that has to be put down as Kayla is in 4th place. You can see head slightly tilted. Ben, though, is off in pursuit. But did he clock in too late? Did he wait for Homer Thompson? Did he wait and try and say, right, we can do it together? This is Homer Thompson's preferred zone. It is not Ben Shuilong's preferred zone, meaning that Homer is in to get more points. But then it comes down to, what do you value more? The post results, the finalized results, or the preliminary, in the moment, adrenaline high results? So 5 riders, 4 if you take away the butt. But now Kayla, she's got Benjamin. Trusty Benjamin has been helping out from the peloton, and now Benjamin is continuing on the front, and he's going to be doing 3:67. This could very well come back together back here, and can Frank himself ride above 3:67 for 7.7 kilometers? That is the question, because Frank himself is going to go up against this chasing pack of riders further down. They're going to be averaging 367 watts, and Frank on the front himself is going to have to do that as well. So 362, 360 as we come onto the incline. This is where he's going to make or break the gap every time around. It's on these steep gradients of Temple Run Hill. That is where you make up and you really, really take away the gap as you crest the top for the 3rd time of the evening, the penultimate time here, as they've got one more time they got to do this afterwards. Ben Shuilong now, he's trying, he's using wind at his back, but there's not much coming out. I mean, wind at his back, he's pushing on the front, but he's working with Homer Thompson. I think they realize that further back, that peloton of butts are going to catch up, but we'll see if Kayla chooses to slow them down, because that is the ultimate risk. The ultimate risk to Frank. I don't think Ben and Homer, I mean, we could see, there'd be a surprise, but I think to see Homer having much left after being at 191 for so long, I think he's going to have to dig extra deep to do this once more. And those butts, they don't feel fatigue. They are just continuously riding at a strong pace, and they can't really be tired out regardless of how many zones, how many attacks, how many races they've done. They do as they want to do and please, but not for the lack of trying. Homer and Ben, you can see them on the right there as Benjamin is helping out Kayla. They're going to catch back up now. Frank, 15 seconds, 16 seconds up the road. He's on the descent, and he is all alone here. He's been with Vibeke in the front, Carl Axel Sander, and Kale Laguna. Now, this time around, when Ben attacked, Frank said, no, can't do. And if we've got that replay, it'd be good to load it up just to see how it played out, because Ben was the one to initiate the attack. Ben thought, right, this is the moment where they're going to be vulnerable, and I'm going to attack over the top. As you can see here, Frank attacking with wind at his back. He's coming on through, 8.5 kilometers to go, and Kayla further back, just getting on the wheel. And it was that moment of indecisiveness between Ben and Homer, either choosing to work as a unit or sending that fresh rider up the front. And now Benjamin has caught both Homer and Ben, as Homer sits in 3rd here, sits in 3rd in line with Kayla in 4th. So I don't know if Ben is trying to push Benjamin up the road, but the name shares or namesakes are now working together. 10 seconds up to Frank, and this is gonna be close. Can Frank Garcia outpace the Benjamin? Frank, actually it's a Ben squares. You got Ben Shuilong and Benjamin the butt in there. Frank on the front, passing Frank Garcia bench as we come down to the bottom of Temple Run. One more lap after this, and that is the end of Zone K and L Temple Run. Remember, we're doing Zone T tonight. So in roughly 7.5 hours from now, we'll be doing Zone T. So if you're an American, you're watching out there, you're in the American time zone or Australian, and you want to get involved, and you're thinking, this is so European, this time zone. Well, good news for you. There's a time zone coming up for you. It's Zone T. If you want to get more information about exactly when it is, you can head over to the CVRcade, CVRcade.com website for the rules, or CVRcade Riders on Facebook for all the information you need to get in the game and get racing. 5 seconds up now as Benjamin working together. So we have a bit of a dirty race here. Thomas versus Benjamin, with Kayla and Ben both on the backside of either of their butts. The yellow on the front comes on through as Kayla now comes through as well. And Frank is about to be caught. 5 seconds down. Last lap of racing. Frank has used some of his power-ups, but he should still have one rotation left with Quantum Shift, weight lifted, and wind at his back. I think Kayla has the same, and I think Ben Shuilong also has the same. So Frank on the front. Then you got Benjamin and Ben. And then we have Thomas and Kayla further down. Homer Thompson is sitting comfortably here. He's got Robert, so they're sitting comfortably together down here in 10th and 9th. So we'll see what Homer's got left. He was at 190 equalized heart rate for so long, so he must be feeling it as well in the body. Remember, Country Rally coming up after this. So 2 different styles of racing. This is long. It is more jabs, 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 jabs. While Country Rally, you swing for the fences. So Kayla uses weight lifted. She's used one of her power-ups as she's trying to bridge across. Now, what she could do here is slow down this group. If she can manage to get ahead of Benjamin and slow him down. We've seen him do it before. So Kayla attacks on through. She moves to the left. And there you go, 40 kilometers an hour. She's slowing down, and this is forcing Ben to make a move. So Frank, Kayla just misses Ben. She tried to slow him down, but Ben gets through by a razor edge. And now Kayla's going to have to accelerate, and Ben knows this. Ben is going to have to stay on the pressure because he cannot afford to let up, because if he does, that means Kayla Laguna will catch up with him. We look over the shoulder of Frank Garcia, and we look. We're in through the trees. There's Frank, there's Ben, there's Kayla, there's Benjamin. Who's it gonna be? Homer Thompson down in 6. Let's not forget Homer down in 6 because he's working hard as well. Kayla uses weight lifted. Ben uses weight lifted as they catch up to Frank. Quantum Shift from Ben. He learned from Nigel's mistake. And does Frank have anything left to counter this move? Head down, looking about, cap on, but Ben Shuilong is in a good position. Homer Thompson with his weight lifted down from 4th. He's going to pass Frank on the outside as well. So it is a 3-man game at the front. Kayla Laguna, Ben Shuilong, Homer Thompson. Frank looks to have blown a gasket. As we look, who is it going to be? Ben Shuilong has got the 8-second gap. But if someone can claw it back, it can be Kayla Laguna of Team CVR. She's already been off the front with Homer Thompson in this race. She raced the entirety of Zone K, and she's now taking on Zone L. Frank uses Quantum Shift. He's going to sit on the back. Let's not forget, the butts are still out there. I mean, Benjamin is out there. Thomas is out there. Robert is out there. It's not over. I mean, that attack, it could work as Homer and Kayla now get caught on the right side. I think Kayla is just gently squeezing on the brakes, catching her breath. But now, can Ben Shuilong maintain the siege that is the Benjamin? That is the next question that is posed, because the law and numbers really does play up here. As Homer uses his power up, he is now winding it up. You can see with weight lifted on the steepest segment, Homer Thompson of Team CCC comes on the right here, moves on past Kayla, escapes that one, moves on Benjamin, escapes that one, and Benjamin will not move to the right. 10 seconds up to Ben Shuilong. Frank Garcia is back in as Homer Thompson goes again. Wind at his back. This can be a ride. This is Homer's preferred zone, and he's now finding himself in second place. Ben Shuilong won the first race on Dark Matter Tech, and he's poised to take the second one. But what does Benjamin, what does Thomas, what does Robert have left? What does Frank and Kayla have left? They are so tired at this point. and we'll see as we keep an eye on it. Homer 4 seconds up the road. Ben Shuilong coming under the waterfall here in the yellow CCC kit. Now, what you're watching, these riders are right now around the world in their garage, in their home, in their pain cave, in their studio. They have their bike physically attached to a turbo trainer, and as they pedal, so does their avatar. And the quicker they pedal, the quicker their avatar moves. And you're seeing Ben Shuilong do that right now. I just saw that my executive producer had the liberty to take an instant replay of that, so I'm sure that's going to be making the rounds on CVRcade riders at some point. But Frank, on the wheel here, Homer could very well get caught, and so could Ben. Frank's taking this moment to try and recover, and I think we'll see one last push to the line. Kayla, further down, she's got a second group of riders she's following, and she's getting a draft from, but it is far from over. Because the way this is panning out, Ben is alone, is having to produce the pressure himself. Homer is alone, is having to put down the power himself. Those two, can they maintain the gap with Frank sitting in here behind these two riders? Third position, straight on the wheel. He'll be getting about 52% here probably, if not more, which means he can sit in, bring the heart rate down, get ready, because 10 seconds up to Ben, and with 1.3 kilometers to go, Frank should still have a power-up in his sleeve. I would be very nervous if I was Ben Shuilong, because you cannot rest. You may have 10 seconds, but at any moment now, with the correct combination of power-ups, that 10-second gap just vanishes, just goes away, goes down to 3 seconds, 4 seconds. As we see, Benjamin has done his turn. He moves on to the next rider on the front. Thomas here, as the two riders have done a great job for Frank Garcia. 2 seconds up to Homer, 8 seconds up to Ben Shuilong. I think Frank is starting to believe that this could also come back. Homer staying on. He's at 194 here. So Arcade competitor is feeling the pressure. Frank's still in. Kayla's still in as well. 600 meters to go. The CCC rider at 169 is now increasing the pressure. 384, 387. He is a climber, so he understands how to time trial, but the gap is 8 seconds down to Frank Garcia. He can see him make a turn. He can see Homer make a turn as well. When is he going to jump? When is he going to use his power-ups? Remember, it's a low skill event, so Uncrashable is on at all times. So you don't have to worry about corner speed. You don't have to worry about overlapping wheels. Frank moves out. This is the moment. 800 equalized watts. Can he close down 8 seconds in 200 meters? It's a tough task. It's going to need power-ups. Here's one. Homer Thompson on the left. You can see Frank standing up. It's going to be Ben Shuilong winning the stage. But as Homer accelerates on the left, the cadence, it just won't be enough. Frank comes around and to take second place. Kayla Laguna will take fourth. Excellent race all around. Very strategic, very technical, with the MVPs, Benjamin and Thomas, helping all around. Let's have a look at that finish once more, as Frank Garcia and Homer Thompson went neck and neck in that race. You can see Frank standing up, producing that power. 700 equalized watts coming on through. Did not have a power up left, and that seemed to be the final nail in the coffin to not catch Ben, but he did manage to catch Homer with about 50 meters to go. He looks to the left and he says, "See you later." And Homer was no match in the end for the sprint, but all in all, a very tactical race. And with Frank now finding himself in second place. Frank, did that race go according to plan, or is there something you would have changed if you could go back?
Well, it would have been nice if the two-person break stayed away. I think it's a lot of work when you got the bots in the game. And then I think then, standard cycling tactics, attack over the top when the attack comes, or when the break gets caught. And we both executed that together, and that broke things up a lot, but I just couldn't hold it. So they came back with the power-ups, and then Ben, went on by in an attack, and it was see you later.
It's very close.
I thought it was good. I was going to block him when he was coming through, but he used the spawn and shift. Great countermeasure, and great gameplay.
I was gonna say somewhere along Nigel Doyle was watching saying, "Oh, I should have done that last Saturday," but CCC learned their lessons. Great racing all around. Country Rally once more, Frank. Sorry?
Oh, I was going to say poor Nigel. Today I think he tried to do some blocking and he kept wrecking. So I'm sure he was not happy. Hopefully his monitor is still intact.
Otherwise, I'm sure there are places to get a new one. But Country Rally, Frank, last time you found yourself on the inside of a pace line, having to slow down, unable to take the win as Allison come by. What are you going to do differently here in Zone L as we enter Country Rally?
We had some bots forming a line, and I tried to sprint by them, but I wasn't sure I could get by them in time because I was tired. So I thought second was better than 10th, a crash. So better part of Veller. So this one, I'm pretty tired, so probably just try and follow the leaders and make sure we stay close to Ben.
Make sure you stay close to Ben. Remember as well the bonus points, but good luck in this one, Frank, as we watch the highlights of the previous zone. So this was Zone K, where we watched the riders race a country rally with the wind. As you can see, Allison Kubota here early on. Frank Garcia using corner caper with Nigel Doyle having to take a seat as he tried to go in the inside lane, but with Frank's acceleration caught Nigel off guard. And this is the moment Frank was talking about on the left side of a pace line, and either having to choose between crashing and possibly coming 10th or slowing down and taking second place. That is a decision Frank will take any day of the week, choosing to go second place. Here's Allison, takes the win on Country Rally. She's racing this once more, so she's obviously got it nailed down as we catch her reaction, as she's got a plethora of great celebrations that she can pull out at any moment when she wins. The two-handed salute. The best thing as well is the head movement up top. So looking at the leaderboard, looking at the scoreboard, sorry, you can see Ben Shuilong at the top with 90 points. Since this isn't his preferred zone and he isn't streaming in, he will need to get a lot of cushion at the top to try and keep Homer Thompson, Frank, and Kayla at bay. But we'll see as Country Rally gets underway. Allison Kubota loading up the spring. This is into a straight-on headwind, I believe, early on as they get ready. Wind at back already for Allison, and the same for Frank Garcia. And Rene Valdez is in here in his preferred zone. He pulled a Timothy Tamont, choosing not to race the long race. So 3.4 kilometers in total of Country Rally. Dirt roads, barn doors, logs, and hay bales. Who is it going to be? Ben Shuilong is in a bad position here. He needs to celebrate. He needs to accelerate. Oh, Frank just opens the door for him last second. Possibility was there, but Ben Shuilong, very last second, gets let out of jail. As you can see, he now moves up and accelerates on the left. He's got to be careful here as the corner speeds are very tricky. They're around 40 kilometers an hour as Ben goes right into Allison and parks the bike further down. This moves Frank on up, and it's a similar storyline from the last set of races in Zone K. You come into this race, it really comes down to the scoring multiplier. It is 3, which means there's a lot more points in this one on offer. It doesn't matter how well you perform in the first race, the no skill event. When you come into that third and high skill event, you've got to be warmed up. You've got to be ready, as the two CVR riders find themselves side by side, and Rene Valdez and Kale Laguna. They're going to be fighting to move up on those overall standings as well. But at the front, it is Allison Kubota and Frank Garcia once more on Country Rally. Last time around, it was Allison Kubota who got the better of Frank, and I'm sure Frank will want to make sure that that does not happen again. Remember, as Kayla crashes down, you've got one corner caper and you've got one wind at your back. How you use that corner caper is all important. Allison saved her for the very last moment, paid off for her. She's used wind at back, and the same has Frank Garcia. Ben Shuilong is off the back, but it doesn't really change the scoreboard too much for him, as he's only 4 points down on Frank, but not streaming in could be his downfall, as he's going to need everything. Frank Garcia opting to use corner caper here, So coming into the corner, coming into the barn door, accelerating, keeping a high gap. So opting not to save it for the later corners where you've got that ever crucial left-hand turn into the finish line with the logs, where you see the majority of Caders save theirs. Frank opting to use his earlier, and Allison only 3 seconds back at 159 equalized heart rate. As Rene Valades takes a tumble, he will be feeling that one, as he knows this is one of his preferred races. He likes this sort of racing, and that crash, that will be dearly regretful after this race as he watches back. Allison 3 seconds down on Frank Garcia. Who will it be now? Who's going to be the one taking the top spot here on Country Rally? 3 seconds between them. 159 equalized heart rate from Allison. And further down we go. Kayla is in 6th. She's got Homer Thompson in 5th, just ahead of her. Renee Valades in 4th as well, just up ahead. So it's going to be close for those secondary positions that are all important. And further up, it's Ben Shuilong as we enter the last lap of racing. He came in way above in the scoreboard, but his 3rd place, his crash, his overlap of wheels is definitely costing him some points. But he's going to try and come back up now with 600 equalized watts. He's got Alison Kubota up ahead as she can now see that yellow jersey hot on her heels. She's going to try and get through this. 1 kilometer to go. Frank is 3 seconds up the road. He's already used his corner caper. Ben and Allison have theirs left. So Frank needs to take every corner with perfection. Because the lack of corner caper, that means that Allison and Ben in the closing meters can gain a lot of momentum because they don't have to worry about crashing. They don't have to worry about hitting the logs and anything like that. So Frank knows this, and Ben Shuilong goes on to the attack here. 3 seconds up to Frank. Oh, he crashes! Oh, he crashes! He moves inside on a lane where he goes too quickly, and just like that, Ben Shuilong's chances of taking the win here on Country Rally goes out the window. What happened there is that certain corners have certain corner speeds depending on the radius. He came into that corner at just the radius you could do, at just the speed you can do, and then he attempted to go in. And just like in real life, if you're driving a car or riding a bike and you're trying to turn that corner too sharply, your back end is going to give out. You're going to slide out and you're going to feel that road rash. And that's exactly what happened to Ben Shuilong. That CCC kit will need a wash. 2 seconds between them. Alison Kubota, 200 meters to go. She's got corner caper left. 1 second now. She uses corner caper. We're coming into the sprint. Who is it going to be? Frank Garcia versus Alison Kubota. Corner caper may just not matter, and it won't. Frank Garcia takes the win. Alison Kubota, 2nd place. And then Ben Shuilong further down as Frank flexes the guns. Rene Valades versus Ben Shuilong. Who is it going to be despite every power-up in his arsenal? Rene Valades loses out by about this much, which, I mean, that was so close. Ben and that's actually some valuable points that Rene could have taken for his team captain, Frank Garcia, at the front, because it's only 4 points that make the difference as Kayla will be the last one to cross the line. Let's load up the instant replay of the finish right here on Country Rally before we head into the last race of the evening on Fantastic Alien Sea. So Frank versus Allison. Allison opting to use her corner caper at the very last possible moment. She accelerates, but there just doesn't seem to be enough gas left in the tank here as she tries to sprint. She tries to sprint, but she's also very wary of the logs, and she just dodges it. But Frank Garcia has got all daylight ahead of him, celebrates as Alison Kubota crosses the line on next. And then a very important bonus points, so very important points was up for grabs, but Frank has got the celebration on point. This is to mirror the in-game celebration of his avatar once he crosses the line. Congratulations, Frank. This time you took the win on Country Rally. How nervous did you get when Allison used that corner caper in the last turn?
Oh, I was like, I hope she has as little left as I do. That's all I was my thought.
Well, I think you had your answer come the finish line. It was good racing, and it's close now because you and Ben are only separated by 4 points. he should have fresher legs than you coming into Alien Sea. How do you beat somebody when you may not have everything left in the tank?
Well, I thought I was going to get him there on the barn door, but I moved over one too many, which is probably good because I think he would have caught me if he had that much time. But then I was able to get him on one of the grates. I think he probably wasn't, hasn't raced this course enough to know the grate was coming. So I got him there, and then it was just a matter of if I could stay away. No obstacles on this course, so last time I made a mistake in a corner, and hopefully I don't make any mistakes, and we just figure out a way to get in front of Ben. I think it's going to be hard. He should be fresher.
We'll see. We also got Kayla with audio. We'd love to get chat with Allison, of course, but we're still figuring it out. I think we got Kayla in here as well. Kayla, it's been another evening of back-to-back zones. What's one of the things you keep making you coming back to CVRcade and doing these back-to-back zones, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and sometimes Saturdays?
Yeah, honestly, just can't get enough of CVRcade. Every time you come in here, there's a race, there's something going on, and it's just different every single time. The gameplay dynamics, just depending if you add wind to a track, you could get familiar with the track, but then you add wind and it totally changes the gameplay dynamics because of the corners and how you change the speeds there, and the drafting dynamics, and even just the amount of players that you have. You can practice and with bots and everything, but when you get everybody in here and there's a lot going on, and just like Country Rally, you got to make sure you're ahead of the positioning of where those obstacles are. So that's what just makes me keep coming back every time. It's just different, and I just have fun every single time here. Even if I'm not on the top of the scoreboard, it's just so much fun, and being able to help my teammates out. And we've got 45 seconds till the next race, so I'm going to try to do everything I can to help my teammates out.
Well, good luck. I can hear Frank is already strategizing. It's going to be tight because Ben Shuilong, he's on a roll. I mean, we asked him on Saturday when he won, is this the beginning of the Ben dynasty? He said, he was sitting on the fence, but I think by now that fence has been moved and he's comfortably in a position now where he is one of the names that gets brought up when you think, who is it going to be today? Who is going to be the one that shows up with authority? Who is it going to be that takes the bull by the horns? Ben Shuilong looks to be one of those riders, but if Frank Garcia has anything to say, he'll be the one taking that top spot. They're only differentiated by 4 points on that scoreboard, and with all these bots, you've got to come out to play here. Ben, 700 watts out of the gate. Kayla Laguna as well as the green and yellow. I think you have got to be careful because what we saw in the last race, as this is 2 laps of fantastic Alien Sea with Racer's Edge and weight-lifted power-ups, is that you can stay with the bots, you can stick with the bots, but when you get to that descent, that tricky, treacherous descent, that's where you gotta be aware that they will take a tumble, they will crash, and you cannot trust them all the way. So the first ascent, I do think one of the better options, the strategy-wise, is to sticking with this peloton and letting them drag you up. But Ben is opting to do the opposite. He is attacking, he's antsy, he's jumpy, and again, we saw this with Ryan in the last zone. When you come in and you've just got these legs, I mean, you've just got legs that are like this big and you want to race, you get a bit jumpy, you get a bit trigger happy, and it's often a tell to other riders to say, oh, look out for this guy, he's clearly feeling it. So, but Ben's got to be careful because there is crashing enabled. There's all these sort of things that can ruin your day. As we saw the last race, Frank Garcia took a crash, and that was the end of that one for him as he used his power-up. So Howard, Robert, Elisha, Margaret find themselves with Eli as well. Allison is off the back here, Ben Shuilong. It's really a heavyweight bout between Ben and Frank. CVR versus CCC, the 2 teams have come out to play here, and they really want to perform at their best for the Zone L CVRcade World Cup. Remember, they're racing for a total prize pot of $25,000. If you want to get involved and you don't have the setups, you don't really have to worry. You can download the game. It's free to play at CVRcade.com. Once you've done that, you can click download CVRcade now and register through that, and then you're in. Then when you need to go and get the equipment, you can purchase it through the hardware store. Kayla, just off the back here, not getting that much of a draft from Wilbur Guglielmo on the left-hand side. So with 4.2 kilometers to go, Renee, Kayla, Homer, Vanessa, Allison. They're going to try and to pick sides here in the oncoming war that is Ben Shuilong versus Frank Garcia. Who's going to be the first one to go nuclear? Keep an eye, Frank. I mean, Frank did say the other day he didn't want to play poker with Sebastian Kuhn, but maybe he picked up a trigger or two, saying he's tired, saying the legs are out there, and it's all for Ben. Perhaps that's just a trick from the Sebastian Kuhn playbook, as we are approaching the top of Fantastic Alien Sea here. First of two ascents. This is the penultimate time, and also the second to last time here of the broadcast today. It's been a pleasure having you in the Mixer stream. As Ben Shuilong, I think Ben saw the previous broadcast, and he knows you have to try and get up ahead. You have to get out in front of the carnage that's about to take place behind. And so Ben is accelerating down the hill. How is Frank opting to do this? He's staying here, and he's staying firm. He's got Eli and Margaret, and he is not choosing to spend as much energy getting the last bit of drafts out of the way as Kayla moves up on the inside. Alexander, Samuel, everyone is moving up as Ben is being caught still, as the speeds are ramping up. I think this is the turn where you'll see riders come down. Frank almost stacking it over the side, but he stays upright and is now down to mano a mano a mano. Kayla Laguna, Ben Shuilong, Frank Garcia. They will have an impact. Who is it going to be? Just remember as well the secondary positions. Renee Valadez at this point is tied with Alison Kubota, so they've got to fight out as well. As Frank slams into the back of Kayla here, and he's got to stay on it because Ben Shuilong uses Racer's Edge. He is using that power that makes him incredibly aero. That last time we saw Frank Garcia crash, and he goes again. He goes with Kayla. Last time, Frank accelerated into these corners. He went above the corner speed, and despite having the power-ups enabled, he crashed. This time, he's learned. He's still at 49. Kayla further back as well. She is attempting to get back up. It's gonna be tough when there isn't much left in the legs. It's just ever so difficult. And the points differential between Frank and Ben at this point is 4 on the leaderboard. And so they're trying. Ben counterattacks as Frank lets Kayla come on through. Oh, and Frank, oh, he crashes. He hits the rear wheel of Kayla Laguna. And that, once more, will most likely spell the end for that one. Frank Garcia trying to just optimize every single lane change, getting in the wheel. And it could have been a pixel. It could have been one single pixel. And now Kayla, Renee, they're all trying to catch up. And Renee is finding himself in 3rd place. Renee Valadez, does he have what it takes to catch 20 seconds in 2 kilometers? We're going to see new records. But if anyone's going to try, it is Executive Commissioner Renee Valadez, judge, jury, and executioner when it comes to the rules, the scores, and the standings. And we'll see if Renee can do a bit of his own upsetting here. As he's got Kayla 8 seconds up the road. Homer Thompson riding brilliantly as always in here tonight. And Vanessa Murahan. It's good to see those riders who are usually busy, you know, creating the game, making the game. They're in here, and they're now fighting as Renee uses weightlifted, and they catch Ben Shuilong. Ben Shuilong, what? No, what's happening? What's happening to Ben Shuilong? Ben has parked the bus. No, what? Somebody get a puncture, a flat puncture retire. I can't even say it. Someone get him a screwdriver. Get him a multi-tool. Get him a new wheel. Where's the mechanical truck? Where is the broom wagon? Ben Shuilong just went to being secured at the front to off the back in 5th place, just like that. And now Frank Garcia, he's 20 seconds down, and he just needs to continue. If he finishes and Ben can't get this mechanical fixed, I think I tried to say a flat tire puncture repair kit, I think was the words that was trying to come out of my mouth, but instead I was just yelling gibberish as always, so I do apologize. But it just caught me by surprise. Ben Shuilong just blowing out like that. That does not seem to be like Ben. And we look at the scoreboard. This is official. Frank now moves in to 1st place. Ben Shuilong down into 2nd place. So Kayla in the hot seat. Kayla versus Renee Valadez versus Vanessa Murahan. The bragging rights that are on the line for this. Hold on to your hats and glasses, because this one here, these three riders, they will never let this go. We're on Renee. You can see Vanessa here in the red. 193 from Vanessa. Even Homer Thompson of Team CCC could get back in. Who is it gonna be? Kayla knows the bragging rights. She knows Renee, Vanessa, they're all on it. This is gonna be close for the three Team CVR members here coming into the end of Fantastic Alien Sea. Whoever loses this, or whoever wins it, I will just watch it now as Renee in second place. How far is he gonna push it? 1 second between them, 400 meters to go. He starts to slide out, 400 meters down. He's used one of his power-ups. Kayla may still have a racer's edge left, 300 meters. Take a right-hand turn, and then there's another right-hand turn at the bottom. Homer has caught up to Vanessa. Renee's heart rate is up. Kayla versus Renee. We look at Kayla coming into the sprint. She stands up, but over the shoulder, you can see Renee Valadez. He is closing in, but is he running out of real estate? There is the mist. Homer versus Kayla coming to the finish line. 1-2, the finish line. It'll be Kayla Laguna beating Renee Valadez to the punch. Homer Thompson will be over the line in fourth. And then further down, you have Allison Kubota. She's still at the top. She's working away. She's getting a stellar workout. She's fighting at the top. And Frank Garcia is on the descent, starting his recovery as he just needs to finish. So unfortunately, Ben Chewilong did blow a tire or something. We'll hear just what happened on the CVRcade Riders Forum as he was fighting it out. But let's have a look at the instant replay as the riders come to the line. So Renee Valadez and Kayla Laguna went head-to-head there on the sprint finish line. It got very close. If Renee had been in the draft, he may very well have caught Kayla, because they come on through, and we cut to Kayla, and you can see Kayla standing up, sprinting, giving everything, and on the inside, it's Renee Valadez just gaining and gaining and gaining and gaining. But he is not in the draft. He is choosing his lane, and not for the lack of trying. He gets second place, and it was so close at the very end. As congratulations, Kayla, winning Fantastic Alien Sea. How much did it mean to you when you saw it was Renee second, it was Vanessa third? How much did that mean to beat both of them here on Alien Sea?
Oh yeah, we Vanessa, Renee, and I, we always got the little competition going on the side together. So beating them, it felt really good, just fun but really good.
How did you like the bots today, by the way? Because this was the first time we had bots in a game. How did you like the dynamic on all these different courses?
Yeah, I enjoyed the bots a lot. Just brought different gameplay dynamics. Just, you know, being cornered in because there's just a pack of them. So you got to make sure that you're positioning yourself right and not getting stuck on that inside lane in case you got to switch over, or else you could be doomed. And making sure that you position yourself right before obstacles, because there's just a lot more activity going on with the bots. And then just being able to use them too with the drafting as well. That was a huge thing today. You know, there was people, the second chase groups were able to get back because there was those bots in there and they were able to draft back. So a lot of different gameplay dynamics. So I liked it. It was bringing some fresh tactics into the game today. I liked it.
When Frank crashed, we just saw your facial reaction. What went through your head?
Oh, my gosh, I know. I was just, you know, just working together as a team, and whenever you see one of your teammates go down, and just especially because it was me and whatnot, I just, my heart went out. And so, but I mean, at least we were able to take the Omni and overall win. Yeah, just always goes out. My heart goes out for that.
Well, let's go and hear from Frank, who ends up winning the Omnium Preliminary as the result stands right now. Frank, you had the crash. It looked all over. Then Ben had a mechanical. Is this a bittersweet victory with the mechanical?
Well, first, let me comment. Kayla's actual thought when I flipped her wheel was, "What an idiot!" Yeah, I think Ben raced a great race, and so it's unfortunate that he had a mechanical. So I don't know if it's bittersweet, just unfortunate. I mean, you know, he was going good, and I was counting the chickens along with him. And then you were like, "Oh, I don't know what's happening," and I was like, "Oh, I think I can just ride this one to the end and cross the finish line." And actually, when I had a dropout a little bit later on, just for a moment, I was like, "Oh no, I'm gonna go out the same way." But that's really unfortunate because they did great racing today.
Yeah, CCC really brought it. Kudos to them. Later tonight, Frank, we're going to have more racing with Zone T. What can we expect from that later on race?
I'll be in a coma, and so let me know how that one goes. No, I think more of the same. I think people will sort of learn about the bots. It's interesting on Fantastic Aliens. I think you called it right, which is might as well just follow them up the first hill, and then they all crash out. I had a couple of good corners on the descent in K and L, right to the limit, holding your breath there, and that helped me get back up to Ben. But then I slid out in a corner and went into the back of K, lost some momentum, and that that hurt me. All those little things add up in CVRcade, so kind of fun stuff. So more of that in Zone T.
On that note, if you're excited for Zone T tonight, let's just remind you of all the action as it happened today here at the CVRcade World Cup live on Mixer. You're watching the highlights of Zone K. The first zone of the evening took place on Dark Matter Tech to start off with. You saw Casey Shum attempting to use Comeback Kid. Frank executed the same exact thing in Zone L, but just a bit too late, and the same thing happened to Casey Shum in Zone K as Ryan Goldenberg crosses the line first, victorious in Dark Matter Tech. Then we went on to Temple Run, the long race of the day, the beast as Ryan so namely dubbed it, as several riders off the back struggling to get back on, but they always had the butts to help them get back up, as Vibeke Bertram in the red and white attacking on the right, as well as you got Ryan Goldenberg sitting in, choosing to stay in the wheel, as everybody, Casey actually put on the brakes to try and get the butts off the front, and that caused an attack. Kayla Laguna, and Frank Garcia saw the opportunity to attack. They attacked off the front with Vibeke Bertram, and then they got a move. And when they came to the penultimate lap to the finish line, it was time for Casey Shum to make a decision. Do I stay with the chasing pack, or do I attack across to the leading group? And he chose to use every single power-up to attack, and he did manage to bridge across, but in the end that took so much out of him. And the moment he got back up there, Frank Garcia said, "No, you don't." He used weight lifted and wind at his back to get a gap, and you can just see Casey Shum trying to dig deep. Coming into the finish line, Frank Garcia had enough of a gap to sustain his lead, not having to worry about the chasing riders, as Carl Axel Sander attempting to block the other riders, but using Quantum Shift will have the opposite effect, as Frank Garcia looks over, takes a few deep breaths, realizing that he has won that race, the second race in Zone K with the celebration. Further down, it was Ryan Goldenberg taking second place ahead of Casey and Carl. We headed on to Country Rally. Casey Shum blocking in Peter Kastrup on Country Rally. Quick shrug from Casey Shum as we come into the finish here. Here is Frank on the front, Nigel. It was shaping up to be a really good finish until Frank Garcia used corner caper here. Nigel Doyle, not seeing Frank on his inside, moved to the left, overlapped his wheels, and crashed it down. So here we go, coming into the finish line, 300 meters to go. On the left, on the right, Alison Kubota. On the left, Frank Garcia, separated by the wall of butts. Frank opted to slow down. You heard him say, "I'd rather take second place than take 10th." And that was the logic behind that one, as Alison Kubota in the Cognition kit can celebrate her victory on Country Rally, taking some very important points at the end of the day. She crossed the finish line. You can see the two-handed celebration, as always, the patented Alison Kubota celebration. Then for Zone K, the final race happened to be Fantastic Alien C. With the bots, you've got to be in the right spot. And you can see on the descent, few riders getting caught off guard with the bots coming on through. And then Frank and Kayla, they were in pole position to really do some damage to the other riders. And Frank Garcia crashed, going too hot into a corner, leaving Ryan Goldenberg out in front. And with only Rick Woods ahead of him, he would then take the preliminary results at the top, at the leaderboard, winning Zone K's Omnium and gathering more points for his CVRcade World Cup pursuit, as we're in the open session and about to head into the bracketed session at the conclusion of week 4, and we're currently in week 3. Then next race up, Zone L, the much coveted zone that we've been racing for months now. Dark Matter Tech, Frank opting to get off the back here to try and use Comeback Kit to propel him back into the front. Peter Kastrup had the same idea, but him and Frank using the power up at the exact same time nullified Peter's attempt, and Frank just missed timing it by about 100 meters here because he ran out of speed prior to the line, forcing the other riders to get back on. Ben really bringing it today, ending up winning the stage ahead of René Valadez and Ryan Goldenberg down in 3rd. Then it was time for Temple Run once more, and Kayla Laguna on the first ascent of Temple Run opted to attack off the front and see if anyone wanted to go with her, and Homer Thompson did. Then Ben Shuilong attacked as soon as the group came back together, and Frank went over the top of it, and that was never to be seen again as Frank Garcia continued on the onslaught. Ben and Homer, just I think that 1 second of hesitation, trying to work as a unit instead of being decisive and staying on it, that was the difference maker as Frank up the front, and now Kayla slowing down Benjamin the Butt, forcing Ben Shuilong off the wheel and onto his own pursuit. And he did catch Frank in the end. He did catch Frank in the end. And as Ben Shuilong here, you've got me trying to explain how a turbo trainer works, the way that the quicker you ride your bike, the quicker the avatar moves in the game. As Frank attempted to catch back up to Ben Shuilong, but he only managed to catch Homer, as Homer just dead in the water, went hard, used everything he got, but it wasn't meant to be for Homer Thompson, as Frank goes right on by and says, see you later, this one is mine for 2nd place. But Ben Shuilong, excellent racing there at the front. Then it was time for Country Rally once more. Ben and Frank coming into the barn door. Frank trying to close him. Ben just lets the door open a bit too early as Frank Garcia used Corner Caper to get away and maintain his rhythm. As you can see, using it to perfection, maintaining his speed, and Alison Kubota trying to get back up. And this is where Ben Shuilong, he was within touching distance, 700 meters to go, and he crashes trying to change, trying to move in a lane with a speed just too high allowed in that corner. He has to sit down and try and get back up. He ended up finishing 3rd on the stage as Alison Kubota with Corner Caper at the end, having nothing left in the legs, just trying and trying and trying, narrowly avoiding the log. She comes in over the line in 2nd place as Frank Garcia takes the escaped win on Country Rally. As you can see once more the celebration from Frank Garcia as he crossed the line on Country Rally. Time for the last race of the evening. Fantastic Alien Sea. Back and forth affair. Ben Shuilong obviously feeling quite dandy with a legs he had. The Butts once more taking a crash as Frank just a hairline fracture on the front, like just to the limit, a second more of braking or less of braking, he crashes, but he brought it to the limit and he succeeded in not crashing. Then going up against Ben, he attempted to get back on, and this is pretty much the exact same spot that he makes the same mistake, overlaps the wheel with Kayla as he tries to get in on the wheel, and he just touches the back wheel and Kayla's face as it happens for the 2nd time of the evening. Tells you everything you need to know. Then Ben Shuilong, unfortunately, somebody didn't get him his flat tire puncture repair kit, and that meant that he had to get off his bike, walk home, and tell his mom why he was late for dinner. As René and Homer Vanessa comes on through, and they had to fight for the top spot. And you heard what Kayla had to say. It's always close when those three find themselves in a position like this. The bragging rights, that's all that's on the line. They know they will never hear the end of it as Kayla, René, Vanessa sprint for the line, and René just gets closer and closer and closer and closer. But it wasn't meant to be as Kayla takes the win. She fought hard for it on Fantastic Alien Sea. If you've enjoyed this broadcast, make sure to click that follow button down below. Zone T, in about 7 hours from now, will be live right here on the channel if you want to watch that. If you want to get involved, CVRcade.com, download now, register for the league or for the World Cup, and we'll see you for Zone T.
But no, Beth, your goes crashing down. Determination, the suffering, the ability to... And she's unleashed everything in this attack. See just how much that win means to him. All the marvels. Kayla versus Allison, and to the line. Kayla Laguna takes the victory.